Chapter 221. The Contemporary Dao Sect's Female Cultivator. Bai Hongtu arrived at the Imperial Palace only to see a messy scene behind Zhongli. Several people were lying around haphazardly. Some of the commanders intentionally did not sober up from their drunkenness and were sleeping on the ground in awkward positions. Zhang Konggu even stretched his foot to the mouth of Commander Huang, which made him frown from the stench. Commander Liu had a very good sleeping posture. He was spread out on the ground with his hands crossed on his chest. His face was tranquil and there was a faint smile around his mouth. He was muttering, "Xiao Dao, Xiao Dao." No one seemed to know who this Xiao Dao was. "You don't have all the commanders here. Where are the two commanders, Ma Zhou?" Bai Hongtu noticed that only commanders Liu, Zhang Konggu, Mu, and Huang were present at the Imperial Palace. With an expressionless face, Zhang Li replied, "They are busy procreating. They said that they tend to lose control in drunkenness, and if they ended up having a baby out of it, it would be great." He felt that he had been influenced by the festive atmosphere yesterday, making him think Commander Zhou wasn't that bad after all. "Happy New Year." Bai Hongtu reached out his hand. "What for?" Zhang Li didn't know what trick Bai Hongtu was trying to pull. "For lucky money. There's gotta be lucky money for the new year. If I remember correctly, you're 1 year older than me, aren't you? We are all cultivators here. We don't measure age here. Cultivators respect each other based on their cultivation level. As you are in the Mahayana realm, you should give me New Year money as I am in the Transcendence Tribulation stage." Bai Hongtu spoke confidently. "I don't recall you ever showing me respect. Asking for money isn't the same as hard times." Zhang Li felt that Bai Hongtu made a convincing point, so he sent him a "get lost" in response. "So stingy." Bai Hongtu slapped his chest. "I will let bygones be bygones and share with you a new discovery. We overlooked an issue with the Mingzhong world." Bai Hongtu seriously said, "The Mingzhong world could be a continent world, or it could be a planet world. We saw Mingzhong living on a continent and assumed it was a continent world, but that continent was created by Dao sect. It wasn't something that world originally had. Mingzhong and others are the remaining inhabitants of a mortal realm, they are not the people of this world. So the question is, where are the people of this world?" Seeing the commanders were sleeping, Bai Hongtu didn't worry about revealing the secret of Dao sect transforming into a continent. Zhang Li was taken aback. This was indeed a problem. "Should we go and find out?" Bai Hongtu suggested. This was his main reason to visit today. Sure. Since Bai Hongtu couldn't traverse the void on his own, Zhang Li accompanied him to the teleportation gate of Dao sect. The two casually chatted while on their way. "How are the students that Mingzhong sent over?" "They are very dedicated to learning. Basically, they don't take rest, use wake-up pills instead of sleeping, and want to learn the entire cultivation system of the 9 provinces to take back to the Mingzhong world. As for the elders, according to them, they wish to guide the 9 provinces into the era of industrial talisman production to enable mass production of talismans." Quote. "But they are facing a lot of issues currently, like some specific talisman needs the blood of the person inscribing it. Mass production of talismans will lead to insufficient blood. The elders are discussing if they can consider the machine as an individual, inscribing the talisman, using the machine, blood, which is actually oil, to inscribe the talisman." Interesting idea. A few days ago, Mingzhong discussed with me that through the creation of cultivation novels, shooting fantasy TV shows, and live broadcasts they have immunized the people of their world who are gradually accepting the culture of cultivation. He asked if we could open up some more quota. By the way, the term, immunization, was learned from Mingzhong. It's possible. Other factions have long coveted the technology of the Mingzhong world. Since both sides are willing and the timing is maturing, let's increase the communication between the two sides. Zhang Li agreed, but how does live streaming help promote cultivation? It's like this. Mingzhong asked us to invite a female cultivator to become a direct broadcast host in their world. It seems that being a broadcast host is a profession in their world. Bai Hongtu couldn't understand it very well. Just standing in front of the camera and talking can be considered a profession. "I thought about letting my disciple, Yu Yushan, become the broadcast host. There's no need for the ambassador of the Dao sect to be restricted to the 9 provinces. Going to other worlds and spreading the name of our Dao sect wouldn't hurt." It's the first time Zhang Li heard that the contemporary Dao sect ambassador was a female cultivator, and Bai Hongtu had never told him that before. Bai Hongtu showed Zhang Li a video clip using a spell. In the video, there was a girl who seemed to be 17 or 18 years old, dressed in a clean white robe. Her appearance was cute and she was making a fist and bowing to the camera, appearing somewhat nervous. "Hello everyone, I am Yu Yushan, the ambassador of Dao sect from the world of 9 provinces. She then began to seriously explain the concepts of 9 provinces world, Tao sect, and cultivation. There were many broadcast hosts in the Mingjiang world, who had a variety of identity backgrounds such as teachers at magic academies, aliens, underground people, group presidents and so on as a gimmick to attract people. So people quickly accepted Yu Yushan's identity. It's all fake, anyway. And the girl was quite cute. When many people in the bullet screen didn't believe what she said, Yu Yushan was angered and wanted to prove herself, so she performed a superb display of swordsmanship with brilliant sword chi. The hard stones were like paper in front of the sword chi and were easily split in two. The technology of the Mingjiang world was very advanced. It's not a big deal to cut stones with a sword, even cutting the sky with a sword could be achieved with special effects. People still took it only as a joke and thought this broadcaster was interesting. Now, Yushan has tens of millions of fans, and Ming Zhang said that after a while, they will officially confirm Yushan's identity and publicly announce the world of 9 provinces in the official capacity. That's an interesting idea, Zhang Li laughed, but he suddenly realized that the contemporary Dao sect ambassador is a female cultivator, so when he impersonated the ambassador of Dao sect before, it would be. No, don't think about it anymore. Also, Yushan finds Mingjiang world amusing, and the spiritual energy there is very abundant, so I let her stay there for a while longer. Bai Hongtu takes disciple mentoring seriously despite his usual unreliability. His policy is to leave her be, and let her get by on her own. There's a theoretical basis for it. The Dao sect ancestor once said, Dao methods are natural. Zhang Li and Bai Hongtu arrived at the Mingjiang world. Their physical strength alone was not enough to break free from the gravitational pull of the continent, so Bai Hongtu used a Dao technique to manipulate their bodies and transport themselves to the outer space. The two searched for an entire day but couldn't find a single life sustaining. This was normal, the universe was huge, extending billions of light years. Searching for a life-sustaining planet in such a vast area was like looking for a needle in a haystack. No matter how exaggerated Zhang Li's divine sense was, it couldn't cover such a vast distance. In the previous encounter, the Buddhist heaven was able to quickly find the life-sustaining planet in the zombie world because it followed the path the zombie virus spread. Now that Zhang Li and Bai Hongtu had no such clue at hand, it was incomparable. The immortal realm divided worlds into continent worlds and planet worlds, reaching the conclusion that continent worlds did not have life-sustaining planets and planet worlds did not have continents, in line with their conclusion that all worlds must have human tribes. These two conclusions were the result of countless world explorations by the immortals. According to Chang Kunxian, on average, it takes a cultivator 10 to several decades to fully explore a world using divine skills. Even though they had plenty of time, neither of them would want to spend decades looking for the indigenous human tribe. Suddenly, Zhang Li remembered that he still had access to the system store, which might have something useful. Zhang Li summoned the store and began to browse through the items. Chapter 222, Holographic Simulator. If the system had been available 500 years earlier, Zhang Li would have frequented its store often, as the items within it greatly benefit cultivation. However, the system was delayed by 500 years, which meant that whatever the store had, Zhang Li already possessed. Even things the store didn't carry, such as the cultivation insights of the most powerful human emperor, Zhang Li had. That said, the system's store did have its uses from time to time, such as sparing Zhang Li the trouble of traveling to other worlds directly and online shopping for refined immortal artifacts instead. Or, for instance, buying a steel left behind by the ancestor of Dao from the store. When buying the Dao ancestor's steel, Zhang Li only gave the store interface a cursory glance, not paying it much mind. Upon opening the store interface again, he indeed discovered some new items. Skyflight brand holographic simulator. Zhang Li frowned. Mingjiang continent had holographic simulation glasses, which were divided into all ages and 18+ models. Instinctually feeling that something was off about this Skyflight brand holographic simulator, he purchased it and surely enough found an issue. The manual for this simulator didn't use the script of the Mingjiang continent. That is to say, this simulator wasn't from the Mingjiang continent. It seems this world does genuinely have indigenous human tribes. Zhang Li found evidence. He continued to search for clues. Dictionary Ghoul Civilization Edition. So this world does have a civilization called Ghoul. Zhang Li bought the dictionary and, following the language rules, soon mastered the Ghoul civilization's language with the aid of his mighty divine sense and spirit platform. The packaging on the simulator uses the Ghoul script too. Zhang Li gave the packaging a quick once-over. Innovative product from Skyflight Company, featuring 180 patents, nationally recognized, winner of 72 interstellar prizes, no side effects. It allows users to fully immerse in the virtual world. This product includes information leap technology, allowing for information transmission in both hydrogen star system or helium star system, with no delay. In the virtual world, you can be a god who can do anything. Virtual world, your world. Skyflight Company, making your life better. After a while, Zhongli realized that only items related to the Ghoul civilization were present, implying that aside from them and the Mingzhong, only the Ghoul civilization existed in the Mingzhong world. Here, I found something good. Zhongli handed Bai Hongtu the dictionary and the holographic simulator. Bai Hongtu was considering whether to gather all the body integration realms in 9 provinces, looking for the indigenous human tribes of this world together, when he was interrupted by Zhongli. Where did this come from? Bai Hongtu was surprised. There weren't any life-bearing planets located yet, so how had things been found? I gained some enlightenment on the Tao of space and found them in an unknown place. Bai Hongtu didn't ask any further and began to study these 2 items. The packaging mentions a company address, but the problem is, who knows where 28 Peace Street, Yongfeng City, Hydrogen Star System is? There should be a way to find it. Zhongli pointed at the information leap tech on the packaging. You should have heard of this technology on the Mingzhong continent, although it's still theoretical. Quote, I remember it being described as a way to establish a spatial channel for information flow, some form of the Tao of space in another sense. This holographic simulator is still operational. You get my drift, right? You mean, we should power up the holographic simulator and follow the information flow to find the attendant? With a twitch at the corner of his mouth, Zhongli corrected him. That's not called an attendant, it's called a server. You're absolutely right, it is called a server. I have to admit, you comprehend technological knowledge way better. Well, that's just high school science education. What's a high school science education? Nothing important. The holographic simulator consisted of 2 small metallic strips, which according to the instructions, had to be placed on the temples. The weak current from the metallic strips helps the user fall asleep fast to connect them to the server. How could this device operate without energy? Bai Hongtu was confused. It uses bioelectricity. With a more detailed instruction manual inside the packaging, Zhongli flipped through it to explain to Bai Hongtu. Even though he too had no idea how bioelectricity could serve as energy. Zhongli suggested, the manual states that one cannot connect to the server immediately after activation. The user has to perform an operation for the connection. So, I'll operate this thing, and you trace it through the spatial channel to find it. Once you find it, wake me up. Bai Hongtu readily agreed, no problem. But I'm not quite familiar with technology. Perhaps I might misunderstood this, but it seems to me that the simulator is for transmitting one's divine sense to the server. Your divine sense is too massive, and the server might not be able to handle it. I suggest you control your divine sense. Makes sense. The metal strips attached to the temples, the faint electrical current discharged, which had no effect on Zhongli. Well, I can fall asleep on my own. Zhongli fell fast asleep, allocating a fraction of his divine sense. In the cosmos, a man lied peacefully with his eyes closed in the vacuum of space, another man stood solemnly, as if on a mission, also floating in space. It was as if they were performing some eerie religious ritual. Bai Hongtu was the officiant while Zhongli was the offering. Welcome to Skyflight brand holographic simulator, please choose your nickname. Zhongli. This nickname has already been taken. Human Emperor. This nickname has already been taken. Zhong Human Emperor. This nickname has already been taken. Heavenly Demons are all blighters. Welcome, Heavenly Demons are all blighters. Does your company even allow foul language as nicknames? Our company aims to let customers enjoy this simulator with high freedom. Please select your avatar. You can choose to customize one or use your original appearance. Use original appearance. Do you choose to be active in the big world or your personal world? What do you mean by big world? The big world refers to the world that all players can enter. You can chat, make friends, and complete missions in this world, among others. And the personal world? The personal world is your own world. You can freely decide its looks. You can directly remodel it based on reality or create it from the very beginning of the universe, creating the world of your dreams. Enter the big world. Zhongli figured he could chat with the people of the Ghoul civilization through the simulator before he approached them. Is this the big world? Zhongli was a bit surprised. He thought the big world would be a world filled with fantastical creatures, knights, dragons, demon lords, and the like. It turned out that the big world was a world of technology. People in the big world glanced at Zhang Li and couldn't help but mention. Heavenly demons are all blighters. Zhang Li looked up and found a line of bright characters displaying his nickname hanging over his head. Hide nickname. The text above his head disappeared. You look like a newbie. It's been a while since we've had a newbie. A handsome middle-aged man saw Zhang Li in his rookie attire and approached him enthusiastically. The middle-aged man had a certain rugged charm that was particularly attractive to some young girls yet to step into society. Since faces are customized, everyone in the big world is handsome or gorgeous. Zhang Li, who used his original appearance, stood out due to his plainness amidst the crowd. Is it too late for me to customize my face now? Chapter 223, The World of Freedom. Zhang Li didn't end up changing his face after all. My name is Du Ming. Which of the hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron 5 galaxies are you from, and what's it like out there now? I'm not from any galaxy. I'm from the 9 provinces world. I just stumbled upon your holosimulator from the Ghoul Civilization Fatian Company and tried it out. Just registered an account. Ha ha ha, calling the extraterritorial heavenly demons dogs, you really have a sense of humor. The handsome Uncle Du Ming laughed heartily, assuming Zhang Li was joking. Isn't my prefix too long? Even though he chose the name himself, Zhang Li felt it was awkward. How about calling you Dog Bro? Forget my online name, call me Zhang Li. Brother Zhang. Quote, Zhang Li never hid his origins, but few people believed him. Without demonstrating his abilities at the Mahayana realm, no one would believe Zhang Li's words. However, this great world evidently lacks a sufficient simulation. There is no cultivation, no spiritual energy, and no insight into heavenly Tao, only the familiar physical laws. This shows that the Ghoul civilization hasn't encountered spiritual energy and cultivation, focusing solely on technological development. Uncle Du, am I imagining it, or does it seem like there are very few people in this great world? Aren't these houses inhabited? Zhang Li and Du Ming were walking on the street, which was deserted, with only a few passers-by. It was eerily quiet. However, there were high-rise buildings everywhere. If there were no people, why would they build such tall buildings? That didn't make sense. The houses are inhabited, but not all the time. They all live in their own little worlds. Although the great world is free and open, you can do lots of things, there are moral and legal restrictions. For instance, you can't be a ruler, take several wives, etc. You can't do illegal things. So everyone prefers to stay in their own world. Usually, people who come to the great world are bored in their own world, so they come here to chat with others, ask how they built their worlds, seek inspiration and then go back to build their own little world. Zhang Li understood. The Great Zhou dynasty had done related studies on law-abiding issues. All beings have absolute freedom and dislike restraint and rules. However, for survival and the sake of a conceptual contract with the state, they were forced to comply with the rule of order, limiting part of their freedom, thereby maximizing the protection of life rights, survival rights and a series of rights. If there were no rules to protect them, high-level cultivators could freely manipulate the life and death of low-level cultivators, even wipe out cities and nations, turning the lives of sentient beings into stepping stones on the path to becoming immortals. In Zhou, low-level cultivators and mortals didn't need to constantly worry about their lives. Zhou called this theory, social contract theory. Actually, the great world is quite good, too. Du Ming took Zhang Li to an ice cream shop, ordered a large cup of ice cream, and asked if Zhang Li wanted one. After thinking about it, Zhang Li ordered a cone. How much is it? I'll owe you. Zhang Li didn't want to be indebted to anyone about money. Who knew that Du Ming would laugh heartily? Brother Zhang, in the great world there is no concept of money. You don't have to pay for anything you buy, you can eat any food you want, drive any car, live in any house. It's much better than the real world. With a wave of his hand at the roadside, Du Ming made a car appear out of nowhere. Digital symbols covered it like a tide, constructing the car's shell and interior. An extremely valuable red convertible appeared in front of the two, and the whole process didn't take more than 2 seconds. If it wasn't for urban planning, even houses could appear at will. Uncle Du took Zhang Li out of the city. As he drove, he sighed and even started to gesticulate when he became excited. Luckily, the car could be auto-piloted, so there was no risk of a car accident. I have to say, this Fatian company is quite capable, at least at doing humane things. Before this holosimulator came out, I thought they were just all about forcing people to work themselves to death. Did the government not intervene? Uncle Du looked at Zhang Li with a puzzled gaze. Isn't the Fatian company the government, or rather the government is a product supported by the Fatian company? Has the status of Fatian company decreased now? Zhang Li couldn't answer this question. Hey, we're all here in the virtual world, what's the point of talking about these things? Du Ming quickly brushed this matter aside. What happened in the real world was meaningless to him. How could the real world be any better than the great world, where everything was free, and the small world, where he could rule without restriction? Is there a place you like? Here, you can freely build a house. Du Ming brought Zhang Li to the suburbs. The greenery here was lush and there were various wild animals darting out of the bushes from time to time. Some people choose to build their villas here, giving it the feel of being in an ancient noble house nestled in the mountains. But there were no people in these villas, everyone was in their own little world. Zhang Li shook his head, politely refusing Du Ming's proposal. Brother Zhang, you just arrived, have you built your own little world yet? I haven't decided what my world will look like yet. Want to visit my little world? Sure. A screen appeared in front of Zhang Li which read, Player Du Ming invites you to enter his world, will you enter? Zhang Li chose to enter. A light gate suddenly appeared in front of the car. The world transformed, the scenery changed, and they arrived in a small world that was completely different from the great world. This was a primitive world, resembling the medieval period in the West from his previous life. A shadow flew by overhead, and looking up, Zhang Li saw a western winged dragon flying across the sky, completely different from the dragons of 9 provinces. Du Ming and Zhang Li had transformed into armored adventurers, bearing swords and shields, and their car turned into majestic horses. You've probably read fantasy novels with elements like heroes who save the world, demon kings who destroy the world, long-lived elves, dragon-slaying warriors, etc. All of those exist here. The position I gave myself is a hero summoned from another world by a goddess. What profession do you want? How about the sage? Sage sounds good. The weapon in Zhang Li's hand transformed into the Book of Sages. His personal information screen also showed that he was proficient in all genres of magic. So, what do we do now? Defeat the Demon King. Du Ming maintained his middle-aged appearance. The Demon King has already been defeated by me. Now, I'm a retired hero. Come, let me take you home and meet my wives. As a hero, Du Ming can also use spells. He used a space transfer spell to go home. Ah Ming, you're back. Different types of beautiful women came running over as soon as they saw Du Ming, dressed scantily, clear indications that they weren't wearing proper clothes. This is Ristel, my childhood sweetheart, an original member of the hero squad. Her position is warrior. Ristel's armor barely covered anything, her charm subtly concealed but visible, especially when she bowed to Zhang Li, it was quite obvious. No need to ask, it was obvious that this was Du Ming's taste. This is Claire, a nun from the Church of the Goddess, also a member of the hero squad. This is Princess Fia from the kingdom, even though we had some misunderstandings at first, they've all been resolved. She helped me a lot during the battle against the Demon King. I didn't help you, I did it for the sake of the kingdom. This is Demon King Visnina. After I defeated her and explained the situation to her, she agreed to halt the invasion of the kingdom. This is Goddess Anna, who came down from the divine realm and is willing to serve me. Goddess Anna had a sacred expression on her face that made people feel like they shouldn't desecrate her. However, the scanty underwear she wore didn't match her expression at all. A nun and a goddess are your wives. Zhang Li thought that Du Ming knew how to play. Chapter 224, Dream Comes True in Life. After Zhang Li put on the holographic simulator, Bai Hongtu noticed subtle spatial fluctuations, deducing it was the spatial channel for transmitting information. He took advantage of spatial manipulation to widen the narrow spatial channel, leading Zhang Li through the space to the other end. Bai Hongtu felt that the two ends of the spatial channel were millions of light years apart. He was relieved by Zhang Li's method, doubtful how long it would take using his own idea of mobilizing the whole 9 realms of the body integration stage. Arriving at the galaxy where the Ga-Moran civilization was located, Bai Hongtu looked astounded. I'm getting a bit fed up with my current world and thinking about a reboot. How about trying a different world, Brother Zhang, any suggestions? How about a former military king returning to the city, hiding his identity, and pretending to be a nobody? Good idea. Du Ming and Zhang Li were leisurely strolling in a weapons store where the shopkeeper was a lively short-haired maiden, with a well-stuffed chest. So how about her liking you? Or should we not bother with that? It's kind of weird how realistic the inhabitants of this world are they real? Well, Fatian Corporation did a fantastic job. They took 100 years to collect the data and created virtual personalities, everyone in a small world is a virtual persona. Not to mention, since they're virtual personas, I can alter their attributes at will. Du Ming then led Zhang Li to visit a friend's world. 100-meter-tall monster rose from the water. Humans scattered in fear just as a giant appeared out of nowhere to battle the titan. The giant struggled against the monster, gradually losing strength. Fortunately, at a crucial moment, the giant gained new power. According to Du Ming, it was a form of strength transformation. After a hard battle, the giant finally defeated the horrendous monster. My friend is a fan of superhero dramas. He never gets bored with this kind of plot and has always wanted to be a hero of such a drama. Now he finally got his wish. That's why some people call Fatian Corporation's holographic simulator is the dream fulfillment device. Sounds good. Du Ming's friend nodded in greeting before he led Zhongli to another friend's world. In this friend's world, he had gifted himself special abilities like body enhancement, X-ray vision, and flight. With these abilities, he remained at school, studying and living in a vague relationship with the school's beauty and other pretty girls from outside the school. The atmosphere was always a bit ambiguous. Whenever these beauties encountered trouble, like bullying from hooligans, he would use his abilities to help solve their problems and win their favor. Leaders and business owners knew of him as an extraordinary talent and showed him great respect. Whenever anyone looked down on him, these people would always step in to defend him. My friend enjoys playing ambiguous relationships, switching between the beauties without defining any relationships. Personally, I think he should follow my lead, change the law and allow polygamy. Zhongli disagreed with Du Ming's perspective, shaking his head. If he likes it that way, why force him to think like you? Fair point. The two then arrived at another world, where a blinding white light suddenly appeared, followed by a terrifying heat that filled the space. Countless particles spread out, forming planets. If it wasn't for the protective barrier, they would have been dead. Naturally, they wouldn't die in this simulated world. This is the creation of a new world. Du Ming was familiar with this scene. Normally, he would choose to modify someone else's template to change the world, saving time and energy. But sometimes, he even created universes from singularity explosions out of sheer curiosity. Was the universe really formed by a singularity explosion? Zhongli was puzzled. Who knows? Scientists say so, but who can say for sure? They previously said that the universe was formed by a singularity explosion, then changed their mind and claimed it was created by deities, then changed it again claiming it appeared out of nowhere, and finally, back to singularity explosion. Du Ming shrugged. All of these are theories, none too reliable. What we're seeing now is also theoretically based. Who knows what's the reality? I've heard that the quantity formed from a singularity explosion doesn't match the reality, a problem Fatian Corporation couldn't resolve. So, they just made this scene into a transitional animation. Zhongli nodded approvingly. According to the Elder Immortal, no one, not even the immortal realm, knew how the universe came about. Yet, here was this nondescript Gomeran civilization with such knowledge. Just how advanced is their civilization? Now it seemed to him that he might have overthought it. After the universe exploded, time accelerated. A planet soon emerged, giving birth to human-figured life. Logically, humanoid life wouldn't appear so soon, but the owner of this small world redefined the rules, allowing humanoid life to emerge. The owner of the small world descended upon the primitive humans, displaying his power. The primitives worshipped him as a deity. The primitive people were enlightened by the deity and learned transcendent power, becoming the transcendents. Playing deity again, Du Ming made fun of his friend. It's not that. I'm simply using my wisdom to guide them forward. Maybe that's how our ancestors opened their minds. The deity of the primitive people glared at Du Ming. I thought you visited my world because you like creating worlds. If I knew you thought this way, I wouldn't have let you in. Go away, do not disturb me. The deity of the primitive people displayed a miracle and threw Zhongli and Du Ming out. Under Du Ming's introduction, Zhongli experienced a variety of small worlds. Some went back 20 years in the past, created a huge industry with their vision beyond the times. Some returned to ancient times, changed history, and became heroes in legends passed down through generations. Others came to a nonsensical world, first fought and leveled up in the Yellow Realm, broke through limitations to the Zon Realm, continued to fight and level up even further, and advanced to the Earth Realm, Heaven Realm, God Realm, Holy Realm, Supreme Realm. Some even faced catastrophe, returning to ancient times to start a rebellion and become rulers. Seeking authenticity, they didn't grant themselves any superpowers. In the end, they were captured by the ancient emperor and their clans were exterminated. Desperate, they forcefully took over by using their authority to successfully rebel. So, have you thought about the kind of world you would like to create? Feeling enthused, Zhongli was eager to create his own world. Just as he noticed Bai Hongtu's message, he bid goodbye to Du Ming and logged out from the simulator. Let me tell you, this Ga-Moran civilization is fascinating. I can get you a holographic simulator so you can try it too. Zhang Li proposed mirthfully to Bai Hongtu. Really, do you still find the Ga-Moran civilization interesting after seeing what's in front of you? Uncharacteristically, Bai Hongtu stopped jesting and pointed down with a serious expression on his face. Following Bai Hongtu's gaze, Zhang Li took in the scene beneath them. His joyful demeanor instantly evaporated, replaced by a look of shock. Coffin-like black boxes were neatly aligned as far as the eye could see. Inside these black boxes were people, each of them hooked up to a holographic simulator. Their bodies were shriveled and soaking in a blue solution. Despite these conditions, they had blissful smiles on their faces. But they were all dead. Zhang Li saw a name tag on one of the boxes. Du Ming. Who, then, was he talking to just now? Chapter 225. No living humans. Du Ming. Zhang Li landed in front of the black coffin with Du Ming's name, gingerly touching the plaque. He couldn't imagine that the person who was just passionately introducing himself to him was lying here, devoid of life, his soul gone. Du Ming, lying here, was completely dehydrated. His skin was so thin, the skeletal frame was visible. His eye sockets were void of eyeballs. His lips couldn't close, revealing shriveled gums. Zhang Li had no idea how long Du Ming had been immersed in the blue solution. Du Ming's plaque revealed his personal details. He was born in 5839 of the Gola era and was immersed in the solution in 5885 of the Gola era. He was a small-time employee under a company affiliated with the Flying Sky Corporation. He had a wife and a son. His wife and son lay next to him. Zhang Li never heard Du Ming talk about his family members. Did you know him? Bai Hongtu asked, noticing Zhang Li's demeanor. Just now when I mentioned how fun the holographic simulators were, he was the one that introduced them to me. He discussed the broader world, and how the smaller ones functioned. He even enthusiastically suggested that I should try creating a small world for fun. That is indeed rather incredible. Bai Hongtu couldn't understand the situation Zhang Li had encountered. Let's go, let's first see what the current situation of the Gola civilization is. Zhang Li didn't obsess over this issue. He intended to uncover the current status of the Gola civilization before returning to the virtual world. Whether one was alive or dead, no conclusion could be achieved through pure imagination. One cannot speak without investigating, can they? The Gola civilization spanned 5 major galaxies, named after the periodic table of elements, implying ambitions beyond these systems. There were 18 Earth-like planets within these galaxies, each displaying traces of human life. Now, the masters of these planets were all in eternal slumber within these black coffins, their expressions serene. Under Zhang Li's divine sense probing, he shockingly found not a single living person in the Gola civilization. A thick layer of dust covered traces of the past civilization. Imposing buildings crumbled under the effects of time. Natural forces led plants to grow wildly, transforming cities into primitive jungles of steel and foliage. Geological changes had left some cities irreparable, their original appearances lost. All signs indicated that human activities had ceased hundreds of years ago. No wonder Du Ming had said there had been no newcomers for a long time. If the entire Gola civilization had entered the virtual world, how could there be any people left in reality? As Zhang Li and Bai Hongtu moved through the technopolis abandoned for centuries like ghosts, the entire city was eerily quiet, like a steel graveyard burying its glorious past, waiting for explorers from beyond to uncover its secrets. If the two were just ordinary people given the capability to traverse between two realms, they could have made a fortune from the remains of the Gola civilization. Sadly, however, they were not ordinary people and they didn't have the interest in exploiting these opportunities. They only wanted to investigate what the Gola civilization had gone through to end up in such a state. These things sure are bizarre. Bai Hongtu marveled. Despite having seen the unspeakable technology of the Mingjiang continent and having a certain level of mental preparation, he was still amazed by the wisdom of the Gola civilization. After all, the Mingjiang continent mainly comprised land, they had no technology for space travel. On the other hand, the Gola civilization was indeed skilled in space technology. Space elevators for planet-to-planet communication, instantaneous information space channels used between planets, Dyson spheres powered by stars, and military commercial dual-purpose starships. Worth mentioning is the information space channel technology used in simulators, originally used for interstellar communication, in order to prevent the lag of 5 minutes to half an hour that would occur otherwise. Efficiency in information sharing was crucial for civilization unity. Thanks to their broad range of experiences and ease with accepting new things, having learned much technological knowledge from Ming Zhang, they didn't have to spend too much time understanding the purpose of the machinery. I just don't know how it compares to the technology of Ming Zhang, who's stronger. The two explored a military base, disguised as a small asteroid and hidden several kilometers underground. Under their powerful divine senses, the base had no chance of staying hidden. Weaponry was, after all, a display of a civilization's most advanced technological breakthroughs. The two could gauge the technological prowess of the Gola civilization through them. Hydrogen bombs, microwave beam weapons, weather weapons, biological weapons, they identified these terrifying weapons from a military report left by a general. These weapons had huge power against groups, but were quite ordinary against individuals. For instance, weather weapons could change weather at will, causing frequent floods, earthquakes, and high temperatures. But could mid-high-ranked cultivators fear something like this? Even low-ranked cultivators could barely cope using water-avoiding and fire-avoiding techniques. None of these are as powerful as Ming Zhang's annihilation cannon. Their technology has an edge over them. Zhang Li answered Bai Hongtu's question. Zhang Li held the annihilation cannon in high regard. Only a true body integration realm cultivator could withstand this weapon. For example, in the world of the undead, 6th rank enhancers were equivalent to the body integration realm, but lacking the triple integration feature, they only had strong bodies and could not withstand the annihilation cannon. Ming Zhang and their people had put in great efforts to fight the mutant beasts, sacrificing their entire civilization to research and develop lethal weapons. In contrast, it was clear that the Gola civilization didn't face any external threats and didn't prioritize weaponry. Therefore, it was within reason that they had fallen behind. Besides, Ming Zhang and their people had established highly advanced productivity and complete automation of production. The government could provide every person with food, clothing, housing, and transportation for free. This proved that they were technologically more advanced. Come and look at this, it's their history book. Bai Hongtu found a book in the library. Books that had not been maintained for hundreds of years were very fragile and could easily crumble at the slightest touch. Bai Hongtu used a spell called Wind and Fire Restoration to restore the book to the state it was in 100 years ago. Only then did he feel secure to flip it open. Eating raw meat, primitive farming, civilization unification, industrial revolution, these are quite similar to what Ming Zhang and others have experienced. After the Industrial Revolution, they started exploring space and initiated a new industrial revolution. Wait, there's a problem here, Zhang Li pointed to a line in the book. In 5520 of the Gola era, Shang Jiyu, the founder of the Flying Sky Corporation, led the current wave of industrialization. What's the problem with this sentence? Bai Hongtu, who had not heard Du Ming mentioning this, didn't know that the real ruler of the Gola civilization was the Flying Sky Corporation. Zhang Li shook his head without explaining, indicating to continue reading. Shang Jiyu was the smartest scientist of the Gola civilization. He had epoch-making achievements in mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, material science, and other fields. It seemed as if he had already foreseen the results, leading people step by step to discover the essence of science. The government was corrupt and incompetent, plundered taxes frivolously. The Flying Sky Corporation, as a private enterprise, firmly held the lifeline of the civilization and stood at the forefront of the era. They influenced government elections, and became the leaders of the Gola civilization. Unlike ordinary private enterprises, the Flying Sky Corporation were keen on public welfare. At all times, they demanded themselves as leaders, constantly refreshed people's understanding of technology, and were committed to applying technology to livelihoods. In 5835 of the Gola era, the Flying Sky Corporation developed a new generation of holographic simulators. Unlike the previous ones, users in the Flying Sky Corporation's simulation world could not tell any difference between it and the real world. At the same time, the Flying Sky Corporation also developed the longevity and long sleep nutrient solution. Users just need to be immersed in the nutrient solution to prolong their lifespan. They could sleep endlessly without needing to eat or excrete. Any physiological activities or needs could be met in the virtual world. In 5885 of the Gola era, all humans gave up reality and used holographic simulators. The Gola civilization officially entered the virtual era. Bai Hongtu closed the book, and saw the words, published by Flying Sky Corporation Publishing House, on the spine. Zhang Li noticed that the digital calendar in the library was still calculating time. It showed that it was the year 6000 in the Gola era. Chapter 226, Euthanasia Plan. It was then that Bai Hongtu understood why Zhongli had reacted that way upon seeing Fatian group. The Fatian group had, over the course of 50 years, ushered the entire Ghoul civilization into the virtual world. And this happened 1,000 years ago. So-called longevity and long sleep nutrient solution only allows a person to live up to 200 years, no wonder this world has no living humans. Bai Hongtu finally comprehended why the Ghoul civilization didn't have any living people. This also confirmed that Du Ming was indeed dead. I remember Du Ming saying that the Fatian group spent a century collecting data to create virtual personas, with reactions identical to humans. You mean Du Ming is a virtual persona as well? Yes, I suspect that while Du Ming was using the holographic simulator, Fatian company collected all of Du Ming's information, memory, physical strength, inner desires, etc. They transformed these into data, then verified the calculations which created a virtual persona indistinguishable from Du Ming. If a person has the same memories, body, and thoughts as you, is that person you? In Zhongli's past life, this was a philosophical question that could prompt endless debate, but no conclusion was reached. However, in JoJo, this is an undisputed issue. Your soul has reincarnated, so that person is not you. The unique soul is the standard for distinguishing one person from another. The pair had already confirmed that the Ghoul civilization had neither living beings nor souls, what was stored in the server was data. Let's go to the headquarters of Fatian group. They both suspected that there was a major problem with the Fatian group. The Fatian group also had no living humans. When they arrived at the CEO's office at the Fatian group headquarters, they found a top-secret plan called the Euthanasia Plan. The plan was divided into 4 steps. First, use divine revelations to develop technology. Second, use the power of capital and technology to control the government. Third, promote the idea that the virtual world is equivalent to the real world, giving them a reason to escape reality and voluntarily enter the virtual world. Fourth, develop a holographic simulator with the longevity and long sleep nutrient solution, leading all mankind into the virtual world. Although the plan was simple, Zhongli and Bai Hongtu found it chilling. This is a public conspiracy, executed without any cover-up. 200 years of life is but a moment for them, but for mortals, this is a groundbreaking feat that defies the heavens. Who doesn't want longevity? And a virtual world that's no different from the real one. On one hand, there is the harsh reality of youth spent studying, middle age toiling at work, and old age enjoying a moment of peace, all while constrained by material needs. On the other hand, there is the all-powerful and godlike virtual world, with ultimate freedom. Who doesn't want freedom? Longevity and freedom, the two things creatures crave most, are laid out before them. Who could resist? The only reason Zhongli could think of to refuse was that the real world was real, and the virtual world was fake. But does the distinction between real and fake matter? Damn, who came up with this plan? It's like murder without shedding blood. Bai Hongtu cursed. This thing would sell well in JoJo too. Bai Hongtu could guarantee that 99% of the people in JoJo would choose a virtual world. Here, this is a holographic simulator, let's go see Du Ming. Bai Hongtu nodded and put on the holographic simulator, and the two of them arrived at the big world together. Du Ming considered Zhongli a friend and had given him a communication method, so Zhongli could find him at any time. You're back so soon, brother Zhong, and there's a newcomer. Du Ming noticed Bai Hongtu. This is Bai Hongtu. We had some unfinished business and happened to come back. Zhongli said with a chuckle, by chance, I saw your nameplate and realized that you, brother Du, are an ancient person from 1,000 years ago. Nice to meet you. 1,000 years. Du Ming frowned, then relaxed. The flow of time in the little world can be controlled, but the big world doesn't display time. I didn't realize so much time had passed in the outside world. Indeed, the changes outside now are monumental. We've discovered a new continent that contains technology more advanced than ours. The Ghoul people are not the only intelligent beings in the universe. Also, there is another world beyond this one. We've found the cultivation world, and the people of the cultivation world can move mountains and overturn seas using their bodies alone. I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't witnessed it with my own eyes. Brother Du, would you like to go out and see? Zhongli asked eagerly, looking at Du Ming. Du Ming shook his head regretfully. If I had just come in, I might want to go out and see, but sadly, I can no longer leave. How come? Zhongli asked knowingly. Brother Zhong, although I am an ancient person, there are no rules of seniority in the virtual world, so I think I can still call you brother. Brother Zhong, you should know that the nutrient fluid can only let me live for 200 years. Since 1,000 years have passed in the outside world, I must have already died. The me now is an electronic consciousness, I can't leave the virtual world. Dead? Zhang Li was surprised. He was truly shocked. Du Ming actually knew that he had already died. I don't remember how long ago it was, but one day I suddenly lost consciousness and got disconnected. But soon after, I regained consciousness and was able to enter the big and little worlds freely. I thought it was a server issue, but now that I think about it, that must have been when I died. But it's not really death, you see, I still have consciousness, can be considered as living, but it's just in the virtual world. Du Ming didn't mind his own death. Zhang Li and Bai Hongtu exchanged glances. This virtual persona believed that he was the real Du Ming. Brother Du, you accepted death with such equanimity. Admirable. This time it was Du Ming's turn to be puzzled. Didn't the Fatian company tell you before you used the simulator? Tell us what? Zhang Li and Bai Hongtu had no idea what the Fatian company might have said, as the Fatian company's building is now occupied by a pack of wild dogs. The Fatian company said that while soaking in the nutrient fluid will indeed grant you longevity, it will gradually strip away your consciousness. Over time, you won't be able to return to reality, and you will lose your reproductive capabilities at a genetic level. Everyone who enters the virtual world agrees to this cost. Zhang Li and Bai Hongtu fell silent. They couldn't judge who was at fault. Was the Fatian company at fault? They had clearly stated the consequences to the users. Were the users at fault? If reality isn't ideal, shouldn't they have the right to escape to the virtual world? They couldn't even judge whether this matter was right or wrong. Du Ming thought Zhang Li and Bai Hongtu were upset about the fact they could no longer reproduce and tried to reassure them, it's just you can't reproduce in the real world. It's not a big deal. In the real world, I had only one wife and a son, but in my world, I have a multitude of wives and countless offspring. Where is your wife now? Du Ming waved his hand. We were only married because we had to make do in life. There was no emotional connection, and as for my son, he wasn't deserving or filial. But in my world, my wives are the most beautiful women in the world who truly love me. My descendants are both capable and filial to me. I have long lost contact with my wife and son. Zhang Li sighed inwardly. Everyone willingly marched towards their own death, yet they feel extremely content, aptly named the euthanasia plan. Chapter 227, Unsolvable Problem. Du Ming was very satisfied with his current life. Being the creator of a world, enjoying a life of plenty, according to the Buddhist belief of suffering in this life to enjoy the next, he thought that no matter how much suffering he endured in this life, he might not be able to bear such blessings in the next. In these 1,000 years, we have discovered the existence of souls. Soul, Du Ming repeated, digressing on the concept of a soul, but this was never confirmed as existence before. It seemed that the real world had developed rapidly over the past 1,000 years. Yes, the soul is the basis for determining whether a person is alive or dead. Without a soul, it's just a body. If it has a soul, it's considered a living person. When Fatian company says it can let people live for 200 years, it means after 200 years, people will die, and the soul will go to the underworld. Quote. Zhang Li was not deceiving Du Ming, he had done quite a bit of research on the soul. This was his conclusion. The soul and the ability to think are closely related. If there is no soul, it does not necessarily mean there is no ability to think. If there is a soul, there is definitely the ability to think. The regret of the great dream hermit belongs to having the ability to think, but it is not considered as a soul. The yin-yang heaven seal imparts a nascent form of soul to the spiritual treasure, giving it the ability to think. Over a period of time, it becomes a true soul. Years have passed since then, and those spiritual treasures that have been imbued now all have true souls. Therefore, the ability to think is a prerequisite for the formation of a soul. And the callback civilization has not yet developed the ability to give programs the ability to think. Creating something from nothing, creating a soul, cannot be done below the immortal rank, so the virtual personality is just a set of programs. Do you mean that Du Ming is indeed dead, and I am the virtual personality of Du Ming, and my current actions are all programmed? Du Ming's pupils shrunk slightly at this shocking news, but quickly returned to normal, only hinting some melancholy in his tone. That's right, I thought I just belonged to another form of life, but I didn't expect. Du Ming shook his head. No, it can't be called unexpected, I just deliberately didn't think about it. That's it. Bai Hongtu widened his eyes. Bai Hongtu had considered what Du Ming's reaction would be upon finding out the truth about his death. Chaos of thought, screaming, heart-wrenching, all were possibilities. But he never expected it to be this calm, as plain as drinking a cup of boiled water. Death is death. After all, it's the real Du Ming who's dead, I'm not the real Du Ming. Du Ming shrugged. And the real Du Ming was prepared before entering the virtual world. He died without regrets. If time reversed, he would still make the same choice. Zhongli didn't know how to refute. Standing in Du Ming's place, he couldn't make a better choice for Du Ming. Du Ming is a microcosm of billions. What shocks me is not death, but the real existence of the soul. Du Ming said. Although he was a virtual personality, from his reaction, there was no difference from the real Du Ming. Have you ever thought about why our civilization discovered the existence of the soul only in the last millennium, and yet had the concept of the soul long before this? Members of the civilization generally had profound knowledge. Even Du Ming, who did not have a high level of education and could only be a small office worker, had studied humanities and society when he was in school and had deep thought about these issues. Du Ming put forth his viewpoint. It's not death that humans fear, but the disappearance of consciousness. Dust to dust, earth to earth, human death extinguishes the light, and everything vanishes. This is what humans fear. So they fantasize about the soul, believing that there is a consciousness after death, providing comfort. Du Ming laughed. It's just that I didn't expect that the soul does indeed exist. When I learned of this, I felt an unexpected joy. The real Du Ming is already dead, but he still has a soul, still has consciousness. I'm happy for him. Although I don't have consciousness and can only act according to the program, consciousness is a very empty thing. Even if you say I don't have consciousness, I still feel like I have it. At most, it feels a bit uncomfortable. Du Ming's view was very open, leaving Zhongli and Bai Hongtu speechless. I remember you said that Fatih and company forced you to work, so you think the virtual world is wonderful. If you say that your work in the real world is easy, or you don't have to work, you can find your love, would you choose to stay in the virtual world all your life? Zhongli had looked into Du Ming's position at Fatih and company. Considering the technological level of civilization, this position could be fully replaced by a robot. But Fatih and company not only didn't use robots to relieve the workload, but deliberately increased Du Ming's burden. This was forcing Du Ming into the virtual world. Zhongli also found that most of the tasks in civilization were redundant and could be completed by machines. Du Ming thought for a while and said, after some hesitation, I would still come to the virtual world. The real world is never as free as the virtual world. In my world, I can play with the world and create everything. I can also adjust the time. The outside world passes for a minute, and I can experience 100 years in the virtual world. Compared to reality, I am more attracted to the virtual world. In reality, if I find someone I like, I can also pull her into the virtual world. There are more ways to play in the virtual world. Both of them were silent. It seems that Fatih and company deliberately increased people's workload, which was just a quick way to implement the euthanasia plan. Even without the pressure, people would eventually choose to enter the virtual world of their own accord. This is an unsolvable problem. The holographic simulator holds people's hearts tightly so that people have to accept it. From a personal perspective, no one can refuse the virtual world. If Zhongli had just traversed as a normal person, not being at the Mahayana level, he would probably have spent his entire life in the virtual world. Only those in power standing at the highest point can consider the overall situation and have a reason to refuse the virtual world in order to allow civilization to progress. However, the ruling class of the civilization, Fatih and company, who should be considering the overall situation, actually contributed to this result. So, it was inevitable for the civilization to enter the virtual era. Is this a cause for grief, or a cause for celebration? The two bid farewell to Du Ming and wanted to find others to ask about their thoughts. After all, Du Ming's words were only from one perspective. Watching the two men go, Du Ming thought of himself as just a virtual personality, a program lacking the ability to think, and felt a little uncomfortable. But this discomfort is also a program, not a real feeling. He doesn't have real feelings. If I were a living person, I wouldn't be able to modify my memory. But since I'm a program, why can't I modify my memory? Du Ming thought of it and did it. He found out that he could indeed modify his memory, so he erased the part where he met with Zhongli. How did I get here? Du Ming scratched his head, realizing that he was in the larger world but couldn't remember why he was here. Whatever, Ristal and the others are still waiting for me. Du Ming returned to his small world and continued the retired life of a brave man, carefree and free. Chapter 304. Just to be clear, my communication talisman was taken by my kid to play with. I had nothing to do with this. My communication talisman broke after it was soaked in water. It connected on its own. I didn't say a word. I'm old, never used a communication talisman before. How do you use this? Oh, it's already connected. I am a thief. I stole treasures from the 4-Sea Dragon Palace. This is my first time using it. The 4-Sea Dragon Palace has no idea about this. Only Gigi's words were different from the others. I've seen the result with my heavy pupils. I came to watch the fun. Bai Hongtu groaned angrily. Gigi, you bloody. Everyone, relax. Bai Hongtu's idea is great. I'm not angry. Seeing that the crowd was pretending to be ignorant and retreating, Zhongli tried to comfort them. Although the 9 provinces spirit plant array couldn't defeat me, as a secret weapon to protect the 9 provinces, it still has its uses. Bai Hongtu felt there was something wrong with Zhongli's words. This matter can safeguard the 9 provinces, the Imperial Palace should also contribute. After the meeting, I'll assign 2 competent commanders to be in charge of this. Zhongli planned to find something for the couple Ma Zhou to do. Zhongli took Bai Hongtu's spirit plant array blueprint, clarified with those present what needs to be done, defined boundaries, explained responsibilities. The red dust pure land you live in is unique and it is inconvenient to set up formations in. You could use the entire red dust pure land as the array eye, with the immortal peach tree as the eye of the eye. Can you do that? Stared at by Zhongli, the holy maiden pure heart blushed and whispered agreement. We can. When Zhongli had arranged everything, he let everyone leave. Everyone left dejectedly. It seemed they were disappointed they didn't manage to trick Zhongli. Old Bai, you stay. Zhongli called, scaring Bai Hongtu into thinking that Zhongli wanted to fight him to the death. Do you know where the peak master of artifact refinement peak is? What are you looking for him for? I picked up some clothes on the side of the road. I think they might be his. I want to return them to him. What kind of clothes? Invisibility clothes. The name sounds pretty normal, not like him. Only the clothes can make you invisible. It must be something he refined. Is he at artifact refinement peak? No, he is not there. He's out on a business trip. Where did he go? I will find him. Bai Hongtu made a strange face. Union sect, you really sure you want to go? Zhongli hesitated for a moment, believing himself to be a man who keeps his word. You come with me. All right. Zhongli and Bai Hongtu met on the way to Union sect, and they casually chatted. Do you know about the 3 corpses cultivation method? Bai Hongtu curiously looked at Zhongli, not sure why he asked the question. I have a general idea, but I don't know how to cultivate it. If you want to learn how to wield the 3 corpses beheading method, I won't be able to teach you. I fear even our ancient teacher wouldn't be able to. First, tell me what you know. Zhongli asked casually. The 3 corpses represents the obsessions within the human body. To be specific, they are the good corpse, evil corpse, and self corpse. When cultivating the 3 corpses beheading method, one should separate the 3 corpses, then subdue them with great willpower, mana, and mental state, uniting them together into one. That's when the method is considered complete. Bai Hongtu mysteriously said, it is said that slaughtering the 3 corpses is a crucial step in becoming a Taoist. Even in the immortal realm, very few people are able to reach this step. What we can confirm is that the Tao sect in the immortal realm is definitely cultivating the 3 corpses slaughtering method, but we do not know how far they have gone. Could it be possible that you suspect our Tao sect was created as a result of the 3 corpses slaughtering method? Bai Hongtu naturally thought of this. There is a possibility. Zhongli didn't deny it. Bai Hongtu nodded. That's what I think too, but our ancient teacher was very careful. He thought that our Tao sect might not necessarily have this kind of relationship with the immortal realm Tao sect. The immortal realm Tao sect has vast divine skills. It's possible they used another method to create our Tao sect. That also makes sense. The immortal realm Tao sect is the most ancient existence. Rumor has it that they already existed at the beginning of the world. Only natural for them to have methods that we are unaware of. Zhongli didn't think the ancient teacher was wrong in being cautious. Just not sure if the immortal realm Tao sect has successfully become a Taoist. Bai Hongtu looked at Zhongli strangely. If the Tao sect Tao Memorial in the immortal realm and our Tao sect Tao Memorial have the 3 corpse relationship, then wouldn't it be impossible for him to become a Taoist when our Tao Memorial Tao sect has disappeared? True. Zhongli nodded. The two didn't discuss this for too long. They had arrived at the Union sect. The Union sect is indeed the famous sect in the 9 provinces. Compared to the Red Dust Pure Land, which is unreachable to the common people, the Union sect is more familiar to people. The brightly dressed, beautiful women swayed at the sect entrance. The makeup smell was not strong enough to be repulsive, in fact it gave people a feeling of elegant tranquility. The Union sect disciples did not wear overly revealing clothes. Some dressed in shadow-like clothing, highlighting a mysterious feel, others wore body-fitting clothes showing off their figures, and some dressed in other sects' clothing with a bewitching expression. They believe that dressing revealingly should be strategic, recklessly dressing too revealing is a lowbrow choice. Giving a sense of anticipation, mystery, and freshness would attract more men. Men are interested not in undressing, but in what they're dressing in. Union sect is a genuine orthodox sect that believes in the unity of yin and yang, complementing men and women. The union cultivation method will greatly benefit both genders. Above is the union sect's evaluation of itself, and those who've been to the union sect also evaluated the union sect in this way, so it's convincing to say that union sect is an orthodox sect. The relationship between union sect and the imperial palace is intricately intertwined. Throughout history, many human emperors loved to dwell here and free themselves. When it came to Zhongli's term as human emperor, the relationship became inseparable. Commander Ma Zhou was a hidden elder of the union sect. Although members of the imperial palace mustn't join other sects, the two commanders joined covertly. There's no evidence to indiscreetly dismiss them. Moreover, the two of them serve as technical guidance, they gave unilaterally and did not ask for anything in return. They consider this voluntary service and do not consider it as joining the union sect. This was Commander Lu's official answer to Zhongli. When Zhongli asked for the true reason, Commander Lu's reply was, "All the human emperors in history have entrusted me with the well-being of the union sect." Zhongli had no choice but to pretend that he didn't know Commander Ma Zhou was a union sect member. "We've been to the union sect before, haven't we?" Arriving at the union sect, Bai Hongtu recalled the past. "Indeed, back then you wanted to challenge me, and then you were thrown off by me. You knocked over a lot of buildings along the way before finally crashing into the union sect." "Not that time, it was when a demon cultivator hid within union sect. We went there to search for the demon cultivator." Zhongli remembered. "Oh right, that was our second trip to the union sect. I remember we were young then and the union sect was notably tempting. Fortunately, my Taoist heart was firm and I held on." "Did you?" Bai Hongtu avoided his gaze. "Let's go in." Chapter 228. Sketching civilization here. Both of them asked everybody they met in the vast world, and the responses they received all bore striking similarities. Everybody believed their entry into the virtual world to be without any complaints or regrets. The euthanasia plan at the very beginning of the Flying Sky Company's establishment, this plan was already in place. Its founder, Shang Jiyu, had created the company for the sole purpose of implementing this plan. The real mystery is Shang Gut's motive. Pity that Shang Jiyu lived over 1,000 years ago and is long dead, Bai Hongtu regretted. If he could find Shang Jiyu, he would truly wish to ask how this fools could, from any perspective, pull an entire civilization into the grave. There must be something wrong with Shang Jiyu, maybe he's not dead after all, Bai Hongtu insisted, it was his intuition. After returning to the real world, they used their divine senses to search through the 5 galactic systems, and all they could find was Shang Gu's grave. Bai Hongtu, unwilling to accept this, used the spell, Wind and Fire Return, to restore Shang Gu's bones to their original form. They looked exactly like him. He'd heard that technological civilizations often used DNA to identify individuals, so he carried out a DNA test and compared the results with the DNA database. The outcome verified his identity as Shang Jiyu. Could my intuition be wrong? Bai Hongtu was doubtful, becoming suspicious of his own instincts. No, Wind and Fire Return and DNA testing cannot solve this problem. Zhongli frowned. Don't forget the first step of the euthanasia plan, exploit divine inspiration to develop technology. If divine inspiration is an item, we haven't seen anything transcending our times. Hence, divine inspiration should be a powerful being conveying something to Shang Jiyu. But there's only one civilization in this world, the sketching civilization. So where could this god come from? The ancestral god had already passed away during that time. This powerful being can only be from another world. Either an immortal from the immortal realm passed by and took a liking to Shang Jiyu, imparting him with technological knowledge, or a celestial level extraterritorial devil arrived here, encouraging him to wipe out the sketching civilization. I lean towards it being the work of the extraterritorial devil, Zhongli analyzed. Although the sketching people willingly choose death, the sketching civilization has indeed disappeared on the whole, which fits the goals of the extraterritorial devil. When Duming was around, they couldn't speak openly about certain things. If they were to tell Duming that it was all the work of the extraterritorial devil, he probably would have thanked the devil. And the nutritive liquid, the price of being unable to reproduce and a separation of body and consciousness in exchange for an extended life of 200 years, it's almost as if they intentionally want the sketching people to stop reproducing. At first, Zhongli and Bai Hongtu thought that since this nutritive liquid was truly defying nature, Capable of extending the lifespan of mortals, they could bring some back to the 9 provinces to use among common people and low-level cultivators. After learning about the cost of its usage from Duming and conducting further research on the liquid themselves, they couldn't wait to destroy all of it. The cost of the nutritive liquid is too high. As far as civilization is concerned, the nutritive liquid is just as dangerous. Being immersed in the nutritive liquid long-term would gradually separate the body from the consciousness. If one were only to be soaked in it for a short time, it would only result in the loss of fertility. The earlier one started soaking in it, the better the results, prolonging life up to 230 years at most. Offering a lifespan of 200 years at the cost of fertility, who knows how many people would choose to soak in the nutritive liquid. They couldn't be sure that people would reproduce before deciding to soak in the nutritive liquid. There might even be those who, in order to live longer, would decide to soak in the nutritive liquid early. What kind of twisted logic would lead one to come up with such methods? Bai Hongtu cursed heavily. He could never have come up with the holographic simulator or the nutritive liquid, such harmful things. The extraterritorial devil is rather good at manipulating human nature, seizing the paradox between individuals and collectives. Zhang Li analyzed for Bai Hongtu using knowledge from his previous life. How could a person brought up by the extraterritorial devil live past 100 years? Zhang Li sneered. Historical data showed that Shang Jiyu lived only 130 years, and that the nutritive liquid was invented after his death, to be precise, during the tenure of the 10th president of the Flying Sky Group. From the establishment of the Flying Sky Group to the moment the entire civilization entered the virtual world, 400 years passed, 10 presidents came and went, and not a single one executed the extinction plan in person. Did Shang Jiyu really believe that every president after him would share his perspective? I suspect that Shang Jiyu faked his death and fled. The presidents that came after him are all his puppets. Otherwise, for a civilization that couldn't break through the lifespan limit, a person living for over 400 years would stand out too much. But how would you explain this face? And what about the DNA test? Isn't it supposed to be reliable? Bai Hongtu asked, pointing at the restored face of Shang Jiyu, an ordinary old man whom no one would believe to be the culprit behind the civilization's destruction. Cloning technology. Bai Hongtu suddenly realized, remembering the existence of this technology in the world of science. He wondered if he should devote himself to studying with Ming Zhang for a while to familiarize himself with technology. If not, both of them would have the same knowledge, yet Zhang Li would be able to react quickly, making him feel rather embarrassed. Though he had lost face in front of Zhang Li many times before, he still wanted to avoid it where possible. If Shang Jiyu is still alive, doesn't that mean he's about 1,400 or 500 years old now? Is he in the body integration realm? There's nothing hard about that. If an extraterritorial devil can use an immortal pill to advance the 12 heavenly kings to the divinity transformation stage, couldn't they also use an immortal pill to advance Shang Jiyu to the body integration realm? If I had the power of an immortal, I could make people immortals with a 9-turn immortal pill. Then where is he now? Bai Hongtu had not found any remains of a body integration stage cultivator in the 5 galactic systems. Who knows? The universe is so vast, he could be wandering somewhere, or perhaps he completed the task of the extraterritorial devil and was taken away by them. Unfortunately, the system wasn't a human trafficker's shop and didn't sell people, otherwise, Zhang Li would have wanted to buy Shang Jiyu and present him before them. The server that contained the entire sketching people was like a towering mountain, its top lost in the clouds, glittering with countless points of light, drawing its energy from a constant star and with nuclear power as backup, ensuring that the server wouldn't lose data due to a power failure. The sketching civilization as it currently exists is this server. They found the sketching civilization through this server in front of them. A pity they were 1,000 years too late. What should we do with this? Just leave it here. Bai Hongtu didn't think this felt right, but taking it back would pose even larger issues. Although virtual personalities aren't considered human and this server is merely an inanimate object storing data, with 10 billion virtual personalities residing inside, Bai Hongtu couldn't emotionally dismiss these virtual personalities as inanimate. The thought that he should do something, yet not knowing what to do was eating him. We don't need to worry about the power issue. The stellar energy is enough to sustain the server's operation for hundreds of thousands of years. You just need to set up a formation to prevent it from being destroyed by meteors. Also, there are black holes. Check whether there are any within 1,000 light-years range that pose a threat to this place and eliminate them. This part, I'll handle it. We should come back to check every 1,000 years. Zhang Li assigned tasks, Bai Hongtu complied. Zhang Li assigned tasks, Bai Hongtu complied. Black holes are extraordinarily powerful astral phenomena. The body integration stage cultivators don't fear black holes because they have a 3-in-1 characteristic. If they only use their physical bodies, however, they wouldn't be able to withstand a black hole. Only beings that reach the level of an immortal can resist a black hole with their physical bodies. Bai Hongtu did have a method to eliminate black holes, but it was time-consuming and strenuous, so it was better to leave it to Zhang Li. After dealing with all these, Zhang Li erected a stele. The two of them didn't admit that the sketching civilization was dead, neither did they acknowledge that the stele was a tombstone. They claimed it was a commemorative stele. So, they wrote on the stele, "The sketching civilization is here." They took a deep bow and left the sketching civilization. Chapter 229, a reminder for Ming Zhang. In order to research what energy source can replace human blood, achieving mechanized production of symbol printing, considering the comprehensiveness of the experiment, this application is proposed. We hope that the President approves the purchase of oil, electricity, controlled nuclear fusion, ion-powered symbol printing machine assembly parts, and experiment sites. The total quotation is this much. In the President's office, Ming Zhang nearly popped his eyes out upon seeing the application handed over by Dao sect Elder Su. The Ming Zhang civilization can only guarantee the most basic living conditions for people. To live a better life, they still need to work hard to earn money, so currency has not disappeared. The mechanization of symbolic printing is beneficial to Jojo and them. Apparently, the large investment is a negligible one compared to future benefits. Approved. The application for establishing an academy of cultivation approved. Considering national security, we should conduct military exercises using multiple transcendence tribulation stages of Jojo and one Mahayana realm as hypothetical enemies and focus on researching new weapons, preventing risks from the higher-ups in Jojo who in their right mind would make such a proposal. Ming Zhang glanced at the applicant. As expected, it was the person in charge of national defense. It has been several years since Zhang Li pacified the war and eliminated most of the ferocious beasts. People were inspired, united, and at a cost much less than anticipated, they finally exterminated the beasts. The person in charge of national defense played a huge role in this process, and was a well-deserved combat hero. But after he developed emotions, he began to long for war. Now is a time of peace, he can't find an opponent to wage war against, so he focuses on Jojo. Using Transcendence Tribulation stage and Mahayana stage as hypothetical enemies, as of now, we can't even defeat the body integration realm beast. In Ming Zhang's view, the gap between their civilization and Zhang Li's is even larger than that between primitive people in the Stone Age and modern armies. Experts in humanities and social sciences can't understand the order of Jojo. There isn't much individual disparity in the Ming Zhang world, while in Jojo, the difference between individuals is like heaven and earth. In this situation, Hij-level cultivators would satisfy their private desires and act recklessly, causing Jojo to be in chaos. Yet, the situation Jojo is exhibiting is the exact opposite. A Dao sect elder brought the book, A Brief History of Jojo, and the experts in humanities and social sciences treasure it like a divine trove, conducting research day and night. They finally drew a conclusion: it's because of the existence of the human emperor. When Jojo was connected with the immortal realm, the demon path was rampant, ordinary people were regarded as insignificant as mustard, without the protection of the righteous path, they could be randomly eliminated. Everyone was fearful. In order to become strong, all means were acceptable, without the distinction of right or wrong, which led to extreme disorder. But as the immortal realm disappeared and the heavenly demons invaded from outside regions, the human emperor appeared, establishing a concept of right and wrong for Jojo. What is beneficial to all beings is right, and what is not is wrong. The judgment of what is beneficial to all beings was up to the human emperor. Under the maintenance of generations of human emperors, Jojo obtained order, and under the reign of the current emperor, Zhang Li, the order has reached a new height. Different from the previous emperors, Zhang Li possesses absolute power. Some forces in the past considered themselves invincible and didn't obey the emperor's orders, leaving the human emperors gnashing their teeth in anger but unable to do anything. These forces don't dare to oppose Zhang Li. In the eyes of the experts, Zhang Li is a very special person. He is so strong that even the heavenly demons wouldn't pose a threat to him. There is nothing in Jojo that can restrict him. Considering common sense, as the strongest, Zhang Li should enjoy the rights of the strongest, have his life filled with power and pleasure, and not care about the state of Jojo as long as he is fine. This is human selfishness. However, Zhang Li is constantly thinking about Jojo and seldom takes himself into account. This can only mean that his inner morality is at work. The experts unanimously believe that Zhang Li, the 72nd human emperor of Jojo, is a saint. After reading the expert's analysis report on Zhongli and connecting with his own experiences of interacting with Zhongli, Ming Zhang agreed with this conclusion. After rejecting the application, Ming Zhang began to consider leveraging some excuse to get the defense minister to retire. Busy, Ming Zhang raised his head in surprise to find Zhongli and Bai Hongtu in his office. Is this what they call thinking makes it so? The human emperor Zhongli really does have immense divine skills. With the human emperor Zhongli and sect master Bai's visit, no matter how big of a task, it has to be put aside. Besides, there is nothing too urgent right now. Ming Zhang laughed and warmly welcomed the two. The two didn't refuse and sat down to discuss with Ming Zhang their experiences in the outline of civilization. The news was too shocking. After a while, Ming Zhang accepted it all. So there really are extraterrestrials? Ming Zhang recalled the first time he saw Zhongli, mistaking him for an extraterrestrial. As the human emperor implying that, concerning the outline civilization, we are, in fact, the intruders. Ming Zhang had the feeling of taking over someone else's nest. The indigenous outline civilization vanished, leaving only a server behind. In contrast, under the help of Zhongli, they, the remnants of the immortal realm, surmounted the crisis, flourished, and became the masters of this universe. It was to warn you not to follow the same old path as the outline civilization, but it seems like you have similar holographic simulators. Since there hasn't been any problem, maybe I was overthinking. No, your words are very useful, they serve as a warning to our civilization. Ming Zhang was solemn. I hope to record what you just mentioned as a classified document, circulated only among presidents. What do you think? As you wish. After expressing his thanks, Ming Zhang continued, beforehand, the all-encompassing entry to the virtual world didn't occur because there were ferocious beasts. Everyone was busy developing technology, and no one had the luxury to enjoy the virtual world. But now that the ferocious beasts have disappeared and there's no external pressure, people have a tendency to be overly free and dispersed, and many want to live in the virtual world forever. I didn't pay much attention to this situation before, thinking that it was just a way to indulge. Now it seems to have a massive impact on the real world. The virtual world does not engage in production, which will hinder the progress of the entire civilization. We need to hold expert discussions to study how to deal with this trend. Look at this. Ming Zhang turned the holographic screen to Zhongli to show a proposal from the Academy of Science a few days ago about national strategy. The proposal thoroughly explained the advantages of the virtual world and the disadvantages of the real society. It claimed that human evolution's trend is moving from the real world to the virtual world. The conclusion was that all citizens should enter the virtual world. The proposal also said that this generation, in order to defeat the beasts, remove their feelings at all costs and should go to the virtual world for enjoyment. The task of building the real world should be left to the next generation, making this a national strategy. At the bottom was Ming Zhang's instructions. Rejected. The next generation isn't made up of idiots. Ming Zhang believed that the next generation would end up telling the generation after them to build the virtual world, and it would continue indefinitely, ultimately interrupting the progress of civilization. Without knowing about the outline civilization, he would have made this decision. Now that the warning of the outline civilization is before him, Ming Zhang would never let such a thing happen. Suddenly, a vast and despairing energy spread across the continent. A heavenly demon from outside region. Zhongli stood up abruptly. Chapter 230. The Life of Shang Jiyu. Shang Jiyu knelt on the ground, looking up at the heavenly demon summoned from beyond the domain, and couldn't help but recall his experiences over the past 1,000 years. At first, he was just a small scientist, researching how to kill cockroaches inside a spaceship. A spaceship in space would form a closed system. So if an insecticide was used, the insecticidal sprays would circulate indefinitely within the air purification system, causing the crew to be poisoned. Shang Jiyu believed his research was valuable, but unfortunately, no one recognized its worth. One day, a strange person who claimed to be a messenger of Dui found Shang Jiyu and told him that his research was valuable. The problem was that the moral values of civilization were flawed and couldn't correctly evaluate him. Shang Jiyu felt understood and enthusiastically shared the results of his years of research with the stranger. The messenger of Dui waved his hand, stating he came from an advanced civilization and considered their civilization the most excellent. Other civilizations were dross, worthy only of destruction. As an observer of civilization, the messenger of Dui saw Shang Jiyu as a person who fit well into their civilization. If Shang Jiyu could destroy civilization according to his practice, he would recommend Shang Jiyu and allow him to join the higher civilization of Dui's messenger. Moreover, destroying a civilization was a considerable achievement, and Shang Jiyu would be treated favorably upon arrival in the advanced civilization, becoming a socially superior person there. In the beginning, Shang Jiyu thought the messenger of Duyi was even stranger than he was, living in a fantasy. However, when the messenger of Duyi took him away from the universe and let him stay in the endless void for a time, he came to understand how vast the world was. The universe of 1,000,000,000 light-years was but a corner to the void, and civilization was nothing more than a pathetic insect that couldn't even get out of its corner. He then completely believed the words of the messenger of Duyi. Shang Jiyu admired the advanced civilization mentioned by Duyi's envoy and admired Duyi's envoy as well, considering him a god. Civilization was blind and useless, it was better off destroyed. He wanted to become a god like Duyi's envoy. But Shang Jiyu was just a small scientist. Where could he have done anything to destroy civilization? The messenger of Duyi kindly instructed him, imparting technological knowledge that was several eras ahead of civilization, devised a detailed plan of destruction, stating that the holographic simulator and the nutrient solution were critical. They were enough to destroy civilization, and they must be developed according to his plan of destruction. Shang Jiyu felt that the plan of destruction was too gentle. It wasn't meant to destroy civilization, but rather to usher people into a utopia. Shang Jiyu asked the messenger of Duyi if he could give him weapons of mass destruction to destroy civilization directly. Duyi severely reprimanded him, stating that their advanced civilization had to be magnanimous and compassionate. They couldn't destroy civilization directly just because they disagreed. They had to let inferior civilizations die in enjoyment. If Shang Jiyu continued to harbor such thoughts, he would not be able to join their superior civilization. Shang Jiyu grew scared and affirmed that he would strictly implement the plan of Duyi's envoy. The complexion of Duyi's envoy only then eased slightly. It wasn't easy to find someone willing to destroy the civilization that nurtured him. Although ignorant and incompetent, at least he was a local. He was still busy destroying other civilizations, so he couldn't stay here for long, so he needed to find a local person to execute the plan of destruction. The messenger of Duyi suggested that Shang Jiyu control the upper echelons of civilization, not with mind control, but with capital. Destroying a civilization wasn't done in one go. Instead, it was a long process. Considering Shang Gu's incompetence, the messenger of Duyi thought it best to give him an elixir to make him a practitioner of the body integration realm to prolong his lifespan. The most potent weapon of civilization could only kill a divinity transformation, which posed no threat to body integration. Shang Jiyu was overjoyed and wished he could show his loyalty to Duyi's envoy by pulling out his heart. Duyi thought to himself, what use your heart would be to me? It had no value, but he still generously said that they in their civilization have already recognized Shang Gu's loyalty and that he should keep working hard. After Duyi left, Shang Jiyu quickly became the most outstanding scientist of civilization, a prominent figure. Seeing how everyone was chasing after him, Shang Jiyu sneered, they were all petty people who flatter the powerful. Shang Jiyu established the Flying Sky Company and became its first president. The meaning of Flying Sky was his intention to ascend to a higher civilization. Decades passed, and Shang Jiyu faked his death, changed his appearance, and became the second president to continue the implementation of the euthanasia plan. The 10 presidents of the Flying Sky Company were all incarnations of Shang Jiyu. Finally, during the reign of the 10th president, all preparations were ready, waiting for people to willingly step into the trap. During this time, Shang Jiyu often contemplated on using his body integration stage cultivation to directly destroy civilization, but remembering Duyi's envoy's warning, he had to stand back. They were lucky, everything was progressing according to the plan, and when the last person entered the virtual world, Shang Jiyu had a sense of accomplishment as if he had fulfilled his mission. Seeing the black coffins everywhere, Shang Jiyu felt that his 400 years of hard work were all worth it. He initially wanted to summon Duyi using the method taught by Duyi's envoy to show him the results, but then he thought that he would have no advantage if he entered the advanced civilization. It would be better if he destroyed a few more civilizations to accumulate merit. With 1,000 years spent in the universe, Shang Jiyu searched everywhere without any results. Just as he was about to give up hope of finding other civilizations, he discovered the Mingjiang civilization. For the first time, he knew that there could be continents floating in the universe. He decided to wait and see. If he could destroy it, he would. If he couldn't, then never mind. After all, he was at the body integration realm and could come and go as he pleased. With this in mind, Shang Jiyu approached the continent, but to his surprise, the continent transformed by the Tao ancestor was unusual. The farther the distance, the stronger the gravitational pull. Shang Ji-yu was directly pulled into the continent and couldn't get out. I have no choice but to destroy this place, Shang Ji-yu decided fiercely. When Shang Ji-yu descended, Zhang Li had already resolved the beast issue. If Shang Ji-yu had come a few years earlier, he would have run into Zhang Li and the Yin-Yang Heaven Seal scanning the continent to find the Tao ancestor. With him being in the body integration realm, he would have had nowhere to hide. Shang Ji-yu was lucky because he escaped a calamity. Shang Ji-yu was unfortunate because the Ming-Zhang civilization had a Tao sect elder stationed there. Being in the same body integration realm, Shang Ji-yu wasn't skilled or courageous enough to meet other practitioners at the same level face to face. He tried to mimic the plan to destroy civilization but stumbled at the beginning. The cutting-edge technology he possessed was already mastered by the Ming-Zhang civilization. Shang Ji-yu couldn't think of other methods and could only forcibly proceed step by step, starting with the upper echelons. So he infiltrated the Academy of Science, controlled the dean, and had him make a proposal to Ming-Zhang, which was cold-heartedly rejected. Shang Ji-yu was out of options and was forced to summon Du Yi's envoy to take him away. Du Yi's envoy received the communication, and Shang Ji-yu declared that he had completed the mission and destroyed civilization. It was absurd. Even his cultivation was obtained through a gifted elixir. What use could such a person be to him? Since the mission was completed, he was no longer of any use. It's a pity that an Earth immortal has no intelligence and can only execute a single command. Du Yi sighed, turned and bowed down to the towering statue. Respected God Hidden, another civilization has been destroyed, he said solemnly. Chapter 231, Appearance of the Heavenly Demon from Another Realm. Chaos erupts in the world of Ming-Zhang, filling the hearts of its people with dread. People can't comprehend what's happening, yet they feel an inexplicable terror descending upon them, their hearts pounding as if an overwhelming flood is poised to cleanse the mortal realm. The Earth immortal level heavenly demon from the outer realm may lack sense, but it is a genuine immortal being. Even when not using its divine skills, the imposing aura it radiates is enough to make all the creatures of the world tremble in fear. This is the innate advantage of immortals over mortals. Previously, the steed of Tao ancestor, Ah Ching, who had been transformed, was also of the same level. However, it intentionally suppressed its aura merely wishing to protect the human emperor's storage ring, otherwise, the aura it was capable of emanating alone could drive the people of the Ming-Zhang world to despair. Such a being arriving in any world would bring a disastrous catastrophe, with absolutely no chance of resistance. Compared to this, Jojo World is exceedingly extraordinary, with its rich heritage allowing it to slay dozens of heavenly demons over 9,000 years. Shang Ji-yu submitted himself to the messenger of a higher civilization, asking the heavenly demon to take him to the more advanced civilization. However, the appearances of this messenger and Du Yi were rather grotesque and strange in comparison. No, he shouldn't think this way. This might represent the unique aesthetics of advanced civilizations. He needed to adapt to it in advance. Honorable messenger, please. Before Shang Ji-yu could finish his sentence, he saw a metal fist coming closer and closer to him. The last thing he saw before his demise was a huge metal fist occupying his entire field of vision. A cultivator at the body integration realm was smashed into a blood mist by the heavenly demon, leaving no corpse behind. The heavenly demon's appearance was beyond words. It resembled a human, without clothing, hairless, with a body 2 or 3 times bigger than an average person. It had 4 arms, each holding a massive weapon. Its features were twisted, its expressions constantly changing, sometimes angry, sometimes embarrassed, and sometimes dejected. Shang Ji-yu had summoned the heavenly demon from the outskirts. What the hell is this thing? The offspring of a crossbreed between a human and a fierce beast. The person in charge of national defense, who had captured the image of the heavenly demon through satellite, furrowed his brows tightly. This thing was bizarre, just appearing out of nowhere, yet filled him with dread from thousands of miles away. This creature was instilling fear in all of humanity. This was unreasonable. His years of commanding experience told him this strange creature posed a threat greater than any beast. It would certainly bring disaster to the world. The person in charge of national defense issued the order. 92nd Mecha Division, deploy. They were the closest to the heavenly demon, right under it. Weapons were ubiquitous across the Ming-Zhang world to counter the fierce beasts. They could be found in tower floors, hollowed mountains, lakes, underground, barring the sky due to its extensive soaring costs, weapons could be spotted everywhere. The people of this world were prepared for a total war, ready to take up arms and march to the battlefield to slay the beasts whenever necessary. The battle-hardened soldiers were on standby, with unmanned mechas rising from the ground in less than half a minute. The mecha division was deployed by the person in charge of national defense. He gave the orders, and the mechs would act accordingly, with no need for remote synchronization and control from the soldiers. Despite holding 2 light blades capable of cleaving the fierce beasts in half, the mechas failed to inflict even the slightest damage on the heavenly demon, not even leaving a scratch. Launch the sun mimic missiles, fire the annihilation cannon. The person in charge of national defense decided resolutely to use those ultimate weapons. Using these 2 weapons in the suburbs, the aftermath alone will result in the death of all the nearby residents. A subordinate warned urgently, even if they could kill this creature, they would still have to appear in military court for trial. The person in charge of national defense was focused intently on the large screen, disregarding the advice of his subordinates. He had absolute command authority in military matters. Should he wait until this creature begins a massacre in the city before using these weapons? The sun mimic missile was launched. The heat, matching that of the sun's core, soared into the sky, melting everything in its path. The annihilation cannon was fired, and everything within the explosion radius was reduced to an invisible atomic state. Report. There are signs of activity. The presence of the annihilation cannon meant that there was no smoke after the explosion, and one could visually determine the condition of the heavenly demon from outer space. The monster's skin was unbroken. The head of defense gritted his teeth. Bring over all the nearby imitation sun bombs and annihilation cannons and detonate them together. I refuse to believe that this thing can't be blown to hell. Since this thing was more dangerous than a fierce beast, the 2 types of weapons that had no effect on the beast would certainly be ineffective on this monster as well. But the head of defense was scared. Only continuous firepower could suppress the fear in his heart. The head of defense bit his lip. Also, contact the president and ask for help from the Juzhou world. He kept comforting himself that the imitation sun bombs and the annihilation cannons would work, and seeking help from Juzhou was just a contingency plan. The attacks had no effect on the heavenly demon from outer space, but they merely irritated it. Sensing the satellite, it shot skyward, intending to destroy this electronic eye, then wreak havoc in nearby cities. Get down, you're planning to destroy something this expensive too. Zhongli appeared, nimbly kicking down the heavenly demon that was madly trying to fly to the sky. The ground cracked like glass, causing a level 12 earthquake. The satellite, which was designed to have stronger gravity the further it was from the ground, cost a fortune. The human emperor of Juzhou. The head of defense recognized Zhongli. Look at this, the city hasn't been affected by the battle, and no casualties were reported. A subordinate switched the screen to the nearest city. Something seems to have blocked it. The earthquake didn't even reach the city. Your military is indeed ruthless, but the decision made wasn't wrong. It's better to take action than to sit and wait for death. Bai Hongtu stood at the junction of the city and the suburbs, setting up a great formation, blocking the heat wave. Bai Hongtu agreed with the approach of the defense chief. Even if they knew they couldn't win, they still had to fight. When the heavenly demon from outer space first appeared in Juzhou, the cultivators of Juzhou also thought the same. Whether we can win or not, let's not pussyfoot around, let's make the first move. Unlike Mingzhong world, the resolute cultivators of Juzhou could really kill the heavenly demon from outer space. So this is a heavenly demon from outer space. Mingzhong was astounded. He'd heard of the reputation of heavenly demons from outer space long ago, but today was the first time he'd seen what a heavenly demon looked like. He used his presidential authority to access the satellite feed. It sure looked random. Bai Hongtu explained, each heavenly demon has a different form. I've even seen one with 4 arms and 4 legs, sprawled on the ground like a spider. The ancestor of the long existence sect said that heavenly demons feed on the negative emotions of living beings. Since their birth, they absorb these things, which makes them ugly, confused, and irrational. Mingzhong also saw a heavenly demon kill a person. Bai Hongtu sneered, that was Shang Jiyu, he got off easy. The moment the heavenly demon from outer space appeared, he had released his divine sense and observed Shang Jiyu and the heavenly demon. Mingzhong worried, can Mr. Zhang really defeat the heavenly demon? Mingzhong had seen Zhongli fight with the Dao ancestor's corpse, and knew of Zhongli's strength, but in his view, the heavenly demon was equally strong, and he couldn't discern which side was stronger. What you should consider is, in front of Zhongli, does the heavenly demon from outer space stand a chance? After Zhongli's arrival, an inexplicable fear dissipated. The citizens of the city noticed the commotion in the suburbs, and even if they didn't go there in person, they could see the situation in the center of the battlefield through telescopes and high-powered cameras. Some even tried to hack into the satellite. Bai Hongtu kindly asked, should I set up a formation to block their view? No, the impact of the heavenly demon's appearance earlier was too substantial, the news can't be covered up. We might as well take this opportunity to announce the existence of Zhuzhou World. Ming Zhang forcefully projected the scenes captured by the satellite onto all the light computers, enabling the entire world to see clearly what had happened. Chapter 232, Dissecting the Heavenly Demon. The frightened people finally found the source of their fear. What the heck is that? Such strange looks, where did it come from, the bastard offspring of human and beast created by the mad scientists of the Academy Against Ethics? Where's the army? Bring in the mecha squad to kill this thing, it's obviously bad news from a glance. My fear becomes stronger since I saw it, a voice deep within my heart is telling me to run away. Mom, I want to find Mom. Is the end of the world finally here? The live broadcast on the official website caused a huge sensation, and countless bullet screens were swiped. Within the Ming Zhang world, thoughts could be transformed into text, bullet screens were generated at ultra-fast speeds. The extraterrestrial demon was smashed into a crater, feeling enraged for no reason. It wanted to kill, destroy, and self-immolate. Roar. An echo of a roar, similar to a primitive beast, spread out like a visible shockwave. Its roar alone could tilt buildings, turn humans into a bloody mess, and destroy an entire city. Disperse. A single word, disperse, made the sound wave solidify, collapse, and fade away. It's been decades since I've seen something like this. Didn't expect to encounter it here. Zhang Li watched the extraterritorial devil with interest, it was an unfamiliar sight. How old are you? Roar. No wonder Zhang Li didn't realize earlier that there was a cunning, deceiving celestial-level extraterrestrial devil lurking in Kyushu. The ones he'd encountered before lacked intelligence, non-communicative, much like a wild beast. I just wonder if the celestial-level extraterrestrial devils always look like this. The eyes of the extraterritorial devil were bloodshot, and upon seeing Zhang Li, it attempted to lash out, ignoring the power gap between them. However, before it even had the chance to raise its hand, it was grasped by an invisible grande hand controlled by Zhang Li. Bai Hongtu never mentioned, in the face of Zhang Li, the extraterritorial devil didn't even have a chance to retaliate. In front of Zhang Li, there was no difference between the body integration realm, transcendence tribulation stage and even the earth immortal. The reason he held back during the battle against old Buddha Zumi was out of old friendship, not wanting to make him look too bad. As for the extraterritorial demons, Zhang Li never showed mercy. The extraterritorial devil exerted all its strength, but still couldn't break free. It roared furiously, creating another shockwave of sound. Disperse. The sound wave was dispersed again. A gigantic four-armed demon statue emerged from behind the extraterritorial devil, larger than a city, its four weapons transferred into the statue's hands. What is this, a hologram? People had only seen such scenes in movies. In a movie, it could be explained as magic, but how to explain it when it showed up in reality? Although they were muttering about it being a hologram, people had a vague feeling that it might be a physical entity. A physical entity as large as a city. The demon statue was arrogant, seemingly invincible. Zhang Li smashed the statue into fragments with a single punch, scoffing, "Is this all?" Uncle Zhang, Yu Yushan, Dao Sect's popular anchor, recognized Zhang Li. Although she had never met Zhang Li, she had seen his statue. Zhang Li's prowess dissipated everyone's fears, and when they noticed Yu Yushan, they all started asking who the person in the middle of the battlefield was. As this was an official broadcast, there could be no fabrication. People were deeply intrigued by Zhang Li, wanting to know his identity. Without receiving permission, Yu Yushan dared not reveal everything about the affairs of the 9 provinces and hoped to pass the situation off lightly. Bai Hongtu contacted his disciple and, upon learning of the situation, waved his hand grandly. "Ming Zhang has agreed, go ahead and tell them." Only then did Yu Yushan feel relieved and began explaining the battle. "I learned about Uncle Zhang and the extraterrestrial devil from my master, so it might not be entirely accurate. Uncle Yang's name is Zhang Li. He is the human emperor and at the Mahayana realm in our 9 provinces world, the strongest among us, who have defeated extraterrestrial devils on numerous occasions." Quote. To describe it as a battlefield is not quite accurate, we generally don't call a one-sided fight a battlefield. Indeed, it was a one-sided fight. After the demon image shattered, the extraterrestrial devil tried to resist several times, only to be gripped tightly in Zhang Li's hand, unable to perform any moves, not even self-immolation. "Old Bai, want to try a couple of moves?" Zhang Li suggested. Seeing the extraterrestrial devil being toyed with like a puppet in Zhang Li's hands, Bai Hongtu felt that he could also step in and drew his sword to enter the field. "The one being beaten to a pulp there is my master, the Dao Sect Master Bai Hongtu, he is in the Transcendence Tribulation stage. He is the second strongest in my perception in the 9 provinces. Yu Yushan did her best to salvage her master's image, but it seemed somewhat difficult given the circumstances. My master is indeed very strong, it's just not apparent because the extraterrestrial devil is stronger. It's a deity-level being. Do you know what a deity is? It's a being that can freely travel through the void, encompassing worlds. Only Uncle Zhang can reliably win. Damn it, this is a live broadcast, Zhang Li, you set me up. Bai Hongtu came to his senses and cursed Zhang Li vehemently. Bai Hongtu was indeed very strong, being an earth immortal. He still had the power to cut down deities and injure the extraterrestrial devil. Turn off the broadcast, we have to dissect it soon. Zhang Li walked over, carrying the extraterrestrial devil. It's still alive. Ming Zhang turned off the live broadcast, reminding Zhang Li carefully. The extraterrestrial devil dissipates automatically upon death, not even leaving any residue. The 9 provinces had wanted to dissect the extraterrestrial devil many times, but found that this had to be done while it's still alive. Once it was dead, there was nothing left. It was difficult enough to defeat them, not to mention capturing them alive. Until Zhang Li appeared, defying the world, capturing the first live extraterrestrial devil. People then discovered they couldn't understand the structure of the extraterrestrial devil. Even the immortal elder admitted his helplessness. Everything I know about the extraterrestrial devil I've told you. It's a conclusion drawn from long-term research in the immortal realm. No matter how much you study, it's unlikely you would surpass the depth of research in the immortal realm. These were the original words of the immortal elder. However, Zhang Li felt that while the immortal realm had done extensive research on extraterrestrial devils, the immortal elder might not know everything. They might get unexpected results from their study, such as the coordinates of the immortal realm hidden in its stomach. The extraterrestrial devil could only be controlled by Zhang Li, and only if he stayed close at all times. Zhang Li couldn't possibly walk around with an extraterrestrial devil tethered to his side in the future. It was better to dissect it. Zhang Li called over all the knowledgeable cultivators in the 9 provinces, such as Celestial Fate Taoist, Immortal Elder, White Snow Spirit and others to dissect the extraterrestrial devil together. The number of body integration realm cultivators in Mingzong's world increased rapidly, multiplying several times. The extraterrestrial devils all look different, and their internal structures are also different. This one's heart and spirit platform are connected. There are so many arms. Let's start with dissection of the arms. It's so disgusting. There are no bones or flesh in the arms, only eyeballs. White Snow Spirit was on the verge of vomiting. When she slit open the skin of the arm, it was packed with eyeballs. Without raising his head, the Celestial Fate Taoist said, "Be content, you weren't here the last time." That extraterrestrial devil's skin was all stitched together with faces, with the facial features facing inward, so you couldn't really see anything from the outside. There were human faces, dog faces, monkey faces, etc., and they weren't muscle inside the body, only a few centimeters long little hands. It seems there were no genitals. Immortal Elder, do extraterrestrial devils not have genders? Wasn't the last one a female? It's a matter of luck. Some do and some don't. Why did you call me here? Gigi asked with a bewildered look on his face. He didn't understand any of this. Zhang Li rolled his eyes. I didn't expect you to come to any conclusions. This extraterrestrial devil didn't just come here by coincidence, someone must have summoned it using a certain ritual. You should rewind the timeline to see who used what method. Chapter 233. The Suicidal Heavenly Demon Outside the Domain. Gigi congealed his spirit and gathered his chi. Making use of his time Tao, he slowly opened his eyes, and with his profound gaze, he traced back in time. You're making such a fuss to show a few days ago. For a moment I thought you were about to revisit the history of 200 to 300 years back. Zhang Li was at a loss for words. Gigi carelessly opened his eyes and said sternly, do you or do you not understand the mood? With Zhang Li's interruption, the ambiance was ruined. Gigi also abandoned the formalities, blinked his eyes, and saw how Shang Jiyu summoned the heavenly demon from another world. It was a man named Shang Jiyu who summoned it, that's what he said. Gigi had a difficult time imitating the jumbled and incomprehensible words, one at a time. Are these in spoken languages the language of heavenly demons? Immortal, what do you think? In the annals of JoJo, the heavenly demons were only able to roar and grunt, they hadn't made any other sounds. The Immortal Elder no longer dissected the heavenly demon. It should be the language of the heavenly demons, but this is only a speculation. According to records, the heavenly demon language contains a strange power that could not be disseminated. Those who had been on the battlefield would not disclose this, and I have never heard real heavenly demon language. Gigi agreed with the immortal elder's view. Indeed, this section contains a certain kind of power. After Shang Jiyu said this sentence, he waited in the same place. 2 days later, the heavenly demon descended. This meant that the heavenly demon was able to intercept Shanggu's message across the endless void, and then cross the void, to come here only to fall into your hands. So does that mean you've just repeated this, and will summon another heavenly demon? Bai Hongtu realized something amiss. Gigi turned pale. No, can it? Having seen Shang Jiyu getting clobbered to death by the heavenly demon with one punch, won't it be the end of him if another heavenly demon were to appear in 2 days? Is there such a good thing? Zhang Li's eyes sparkled as he repeated the words once again. Why has it been repeated twice? Du Yi frowned slightly. He wasn't amused and felt dissatisfied with Shanggu's repetition. Doesn't seem like Shanggu's voice, but only Shang Jiyu knows this line. How can others know? Could it be someone heard what Shang Jiyu was saying and imitated it afterward? The meaning of this line was to erase civilization. Please descend here. Repeating it would not summon another heavenly demon. It's not right either. Since civilization has been erased, Shang Jiyu is the only living person, so who can imitate it? Plus, the voice sounds so familiar. The familiar voice gradually overlapped with a certain face. It's Zhang Li, the human emperor of Jojo World. Du Yi abruptly stood up. His impression of Zhang Li was too distinct. This man was the variable amongst variables. In theory, the foundation of Jojo was gradually being drained by the constant appearance of heavenly demons. It was an imperious period where he could execute his tactics and allow the civilization of Jojo to gradually decline. However, Zhang Li appeared in Jojo. His fighting strength defied all logic. Even he, who was not fully grown, couldn't take him. Du Yi did not dare to confront him. He could only resort to small tactics, hoping to slowly plunge Jojo into the abyss of destruction without Zhang Li noticing. Since Zhang Li appeared, his subordinates undoubtedly wouldn't survive. Suicide. Du Yi clenched his teeth and issued the command. Why did they suddenly commit suicide? The cultivators who hadn't figured it out yet saw the heavenly demon convulsing all over. Seemingly unable to bear the humiliation, he committed suicide in resentment. His body disintegrated, as though he had never emerged. The bodies of the immortals are immortal after death, while the body of the heavenly demons disintegrates after death. They truly are naturally opposing factions. Tianming Daorin concluded. Mount Heshan remained silent. These body integration realm cultivators couldn't pierce the skin of the heavenly demons, so they used their own bodies as anatomical knives. In the past, when there was no spiritual wisdom, it was okay. They didn't feel anything. Now that they possess spiritual wisdom, they only felt that the heavenly demons were disgusting to touch. Even they themselves felt dirty at close quarters. Using his profound eyes, Gigi saw that there wouldn't be any heavenly demons descending in the coming month. He breathed a sigh of relief. Working for Zhang Li was indeed dangerous. It's okay, the effect of the sentence has expired, and the heavenly demons will no longer come. Zhang Li expressed his regrets. He thought this was a mantra that could infinitely summon heavenly demons. Chant it once, and one would appear. If that were the case, he would definitely chant it 3 times a day in the morning, noon, and evening to try to kill all the heavenly demons. Only after the delegation from Jojo left the shockwave from the battle began to surge. The people of the Mingjiang world couldn't believe that anyone could reach such a peak with just their physical body. Is he even human? If you say he's an immortal, I'd believe it. The Mingjiang world had developed learning chips. Through nanolevel electric currents, they could import the contents stored in the chip into the mind and thus master a certain knowledge. However, after discussing with professionals, they concluded that this type of learning process would lead to the loss of spirituality and would not be beneficial for future development. Therefore, regardless of what one wishes to do in the future, it all requires learning and examination. May the Overlord bless me and help me pass my finals. Someone printed a high-definition photo of Zhang Li, inserted 3 incense sticks and worshipped with utmost sincerity. No matter whether it works or not, worship first. However, his final exam did not go smoothly and the saying, "Fail the Emperor, fail the final exam," spread. People also noticed the popular livestream host, Yu Yushan. In the beginning, when this little girl said she was a core disciple of a sect in another world, everyone laughed it off. Everyone was here to appreciate her beauty. Who would take her words seriously? Now Jojo World has announced that Yu Yushan has become the government-certified inter-world communicator. Everyone realized that they were the fools and started to replay Yu Yushan's live streams, listening to how she described Jojo and cultivation. However, cultivation is risky, and without a guide, one should not casually cultivate. Had this in mind, Yu Yushan did not directly explain how to cultivate, she mostly outlined what type of world JoJo is. The highly ranked can pick stars and moons, bathe in the sun, the intermediate cultivators could split mountains and rivers, walk in the air, and low-ranked cultivators are comparable to a self-walking arsenal. The 9 imperial dynasties, 6 great sects have been standing the test of time and are the foundation of JoJo. Above them, is the only human emperor Zhongli who everyone has seen, the only one in the Mahayana realm. There were none who could match him 9,000 years ago, and in the next 9,000 years, there probably still won't be anyone who can stand on equal footing with him. Is it normal not to become an immortal when you're 18? Someone on the street pulled me aside and said that I'm a heavenly spiritual root, is that real or fake? Jokes overshadowed the bullet screen, but the most common phrase in Yu Yushan's live stream was, is it too late to learn cultivation now? It's not too late, it's never too late to learn, Yu Yushan smiled sweetly, encouraging everyone. Thanks for the invitation, I'm at the state's first university, currently auditing cultivation class. A bullet screen comment drew Deodal's attention. At the same time, news about the first state university is offering elective courses in cultivation topped the headlines. That is a course our sect's elder is offering, Yu Yushan explained. At once, people went crazy. The elders of Dao sect are body integration realm cultivators. They are important figures in JoJo, and undoubtedly, they should go and listen. The Mingzhong world was stepping into the era of cultivation combined with technology. Chapter 234, Abstract Painter Zhong Li. Task announcement. The once-in-a-century Cloudwater secret area is about to open. Only Gold Core period cultivators can enter. Numerous geniuses are as common as crucian carp crossing the river. There are, realm-breaking grass, in the secret area that can help you awaken the heavenly spiritual root earlier. You are to obtain the, realm-breaking grass, in the secret area. This task cannot be abandoned. Task rewards. A barrel of medicinal bath for assisting the awakening of heavenly spiritual root, 1 heart controlling GU, 1 set of, yin-yang. Harmony cultivation method, realm-breaking grass. Zhong Li was somewhat surprised. Realm-breaking grass only worked for cultivators of the nascent soul stage and below. It could break through a minor realm without any side effects, but it could only be taken once. He never thought that realm-breaking grass could also have the effect of awakening the heavenly spiritual root. The heavenly spiritual root was self-luminous, disguised on the outside as the 5 spiritual roots. Only when it advanced to the nascent soul stage in its form of the 5 spiritual roots could the original appearance of the heavenly spiritual root be revealed. Then cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds, unmatched in the same realm. But it was extremely difficult for the 5 spiritual roots to achieve the nascent soul stage. Both will and luck were indispensable. Every cultivator in history who knew they had the heavenly spiritual root achieved great success. The most famous among them was the 72nd human emperor, Zhong Li. If I could utilize the potential of the heavenly spiritual root during the Gold Core period, I would have a terrifyingly solid foundation. It would then be an easy task to achieve the nascent soul stage in the future, and my combat prowess would definitely surpass that of those just entering the nascent soul stage. Zhong Li believed that this system task would be of great help to him. Since I found out that I have the heavenly spiritual root during the foundation establishment stage, it is all good. Zhong Li was pushed into a corner when he was in the foundation establishment stage, which led him to burn his spiritual root and survive the catastrophe. By forcefully awakening the heavenly spiritual root, he provided a great help to his early cultivation. Zhong Li bought a weed-like thing from the system store, which was very unimpressive. It was the realm-breaking grass. The system did not give any hint. Damn, it seems I can only get it in the secret realm. Zhong Li was very familiar with the Cloudwater secret area as he had been there with Yu Yin before. The Cloudwater secret area was left by an immortal realm painter adept in the way of painting across the 9 zones. The painter left no lineage in the 9 zones, and this secret area was seen by people as the inheritance of this immortal. Zhong Li had passed through the secret area and ultimately obtained the painter's inheritance. As a result, the residual consciousness left by the painter decided to examine Zhong Li's painting level. The painter's residual consciousness looked at Zhong Li's painting from left to right, but couldn't figure out what Zhong Li was drawing. Point 1. Is this a drawing of an elephant or a wild boar? The painter's residual consciousness asked uncertainly. I drew Yu Yin, Zhong Li answered honestly. Yu Yin, who was standing next to him, was about to blow up. Yu Yin and Zhong Li tied for first place. Zhong Li did not pass while Yu Yin did. With Zhong Li paving the way ahead, the painter's residual consciousness was extremely satisfied with Yu Yin. However, Zhongli had not seen Yu Yin use the way of painting for hundreds of years, and he didn't know if she had abandoned it or was still quietly cultivating it. The task rewards are interesting. Zhongli looked at the two later rewards, a heart-controlling GU, and a harmony cultivation method. Referring to his previous task, which was to go to the GU Immortal Secret Realm to find a Dao companion for himself, it was self-explanatory as to how to use the harmony cultivation method. In addition to the heart-controlling GU, every time Zhongli saw this thing, he always ended up thinking of something unhealthy. Zhongli believed that the way he thought of using the heart-controlling GU and the way the system thought it should be used were definitely not the same. Probably, my thoughts are problematic, I self-reflect. Through reflection, Zhongli came to the conclusion that he was influenced by Ma Zhou and his wife. Let's just dismiss them. As described in the task, the opening of the Cloudwater secret area was a major event. It would become a gathering place for geniuses. Given that the spatial passages were now connected, there would be more genius cultivators than usual. For instance, Zhongli saw the genius cultivator Li Er, who was formerly from the Body Incorporating sect. This little fox is quite interesting. Are you from the beast-controlling sect? Li Er was enthusiastically looking at a little fox on the shoulder of a gold core cultivator. The little white fox arched its body, baring its fangs and grimacing in an attempt to scare Li Er away. I am Qin Luan, a true disciple from the wind-stabilizing view of the great Zhou dynasty. Well, you're pretty lucky. Even the beast-taming sect doesn't possess such a good spirit beast. Li Er laughed, as a nine-tailed celestial fox that has cultivated to the body integration realm is something the beast-taming sect couldn't afford. Where are you from, Brother Li? What are you doing here? Zhongli patted Li Er on the shoulder. Li Er was startled. Anyone who could silently evade the divine sense of a transcendence tribulation stage practitioner must be a ghost. Turns out, it was just Zhongli. Zhongli's disguising skills weren't extraordinary, they could be seen through by anyone from transcendence tribulation stage. Did you take a liking to the divine sense of the painting immortal? Don't forget you're married. Zhongli looked at Li Er with a strange expression. The painting immortal's divine sense had the appearance of an extremely beautiful woman from the Zhongnan water towns, characterized by a tender and affectionate demeanor. Many cultivators who had seen her were infatuated and longed to visit the Cloudwater secret area again. Unfortunately, the Cloudwater secret area only allows golden core stage cultivators to access. 100 years ago, the cultivators who entered either died of old age or had advanced beyond the golden core stage. Beyond this reason, Zhongli couldn't fathom why else Li Er came here. After all, which high-ranked cultivator would want to foot around in such a place? What are you talking about? I am devoted to Chang'er. Li Er retorted indignantly before gloomily admitting, our wedding anniversary is approaching and I realize that I've shattered the token of love Chang'er gave me. What token of love? A 10,000-year crystal-colored glaze coral tree. Isn't that extinct? Exactly. The one Chang'er had was the last piece, and now it's completely gone. So I thought I would use painting to create a counterfeit one and bluff it out. But after considering it, there's no one in our 9 provinces who is skilled enough in painting to trick Chang'er, so I might as well ask the painting immortal to help me create one. Li Er's wife, Chang'er, who is also the sister of the Western Sea Dragon King, is a real dragon at the body integration stage. There are indeed body integration stage cultivators skilled in painting in the 9 provinces, but Li Er is not confident enough to use their creations to trick his wife. Li Er regretted not learning the Dao method, wind return fire, otherwise, this wouldn't have happened. You could try asking Yu Yin, she should be skilled in painting. Zhongli suggested. Li Er didn't think this was a good idea. Do you think she would help me hide this, or directly tell Chang'er? Wanna take a bet? Buzz off. So, what are you doing here? Looking for a breakthrough grass. Li Er looked at Zhongli with a strange expression. He must be desperate to level up. This thing is only useful for those below nascent soul stage. Do you, who are already at the Mahayana stage, still want to use it? If breakthrough grass could help a Mahayana cultivator level up, Li Er swore he'd eat it every day like a meal. Human Emperor. Yuan Wuxing was the first to recognize Zhongli. It was his intuition. Nascent soul later stage, not bad. Yuan Wuxing's cultivation had rapidly improved, not only because of his talent, but also because of his adventurous travels throughout the 9 provinces. Qin Luan's team was becoming more formidable, comprising Yuan Wuxing and his disciples, Song Ying, Little White Fox, and Aguna. Mr. Zhang. Thanks to Yuan Wuxing's reminder, Qin Luan and the rest realized that this ordinary-looking person was the disguised Zhongli, the human emperor. The little fox stared with wide eyes. Even when she was the monarch of the Qingzhou nation, she hadn't encountered the human emperor this frequently. Are you also interested in painting? Zhang Li asked Qin Luan. Yuan Wuxing interjected, he doesn't know a damn thing about painting. As a kid, the only thing he used to draw was a map on his blanket. Qin Luan retorted, at least I can draw a perfect circle by hand. Yuan Wuxing scorned, so can I can also beg for alms by hand. Chapter 235, Cloudwater's Secret Area. The fact that Qin Luan's painting skills were difficult to describe by words. He said he was painting a circle, but it looked more like an egg in Zhang Li's eyes. Qin Luan was aware of his own ability. They did not specifically come to the Cloudwater secret area, but accidentally stepped into a random teleportation formation in the previous secret area and were transported here. Operating on a, since we're here, let's give it a shot, type of mindset, Qin Luan decided to try his luck. Zhang Li was thinking of leaving Yuan Wuxing alone after entering the secret area, which seemed quite pitiful. So he asked, do you want me to take you inside too? Yuan Wuxing appreciated Zhang Li's kindness, but still refused. Unlike a certain someone, I know my limits. It's better that I don't embarrass myself with my poor artistic skills. Qin Luan thought his master was talking about him. Li Er thought Yuan Wuxing was referring to him. Zhang Li thought Yuan Wuxing was talking about him. Zhang Li laughed awkwardly and didn't mention bringing anyone else in. At this time, there was a commotion in the crowd, as if some important figure was arriving. Look, that's the son of the secluded forest family, Lin Ruling. What, the very same Lin Ruling who could read at 3, recite poetry at 5, and compose his own poems at 7. Who else could possess such an aura? Look at his confident demeanor, surely he has profound poems hidden in his heart. And such looks, gentle, handsome and suave, undoubtedly the dream man of many young girls. His cultivation speed is also extremely terrifying. He's only 25 years old, but he's already at the late stage of Golden Core, a rarity among his peers. His combat power also defies the heavens. With a variety of means, he can withstand 50 moves against someone in the earliest stage of nascent soul. Lin Ruling gestured to keep a low profile and not be too ostentatious. The more he did this, the more people marveled. An excellent person like him keeping such a low profile made others feel ashamed. Qin Luan and his company were all confused. Who was this Lin Ruling, and why did so many people recognize him? Was a 25-year-old at the late stage of Golden Core really so rare? Qin Luan was 23 and at the perfect stage of Golden Core, potentially stepping into the nascent soul stage at any day. And what was this about his combat power? None of those in the early nascent soul stage had ever withstood 50 of his moves. Do you know him? Li Er didn't know Lin Ruling, but he had certainly heard of the secluded forest family, which was indeed a well-known secluded family. They often secluded themselves, going into seclusion every 3 to 5 years. The forest family had a cultivator in the body integration realm, and they were a family that had lasted for thousands of years. This body integration realm cultivator loved fame, but realized that he was quite ordinary amongst his kind, without anything noticeable to display. Therefore, he opted to gain fame by going into seclusion, like the Jiyu clan, who furthered their cause by secluding themselves for hundreds of years, yet still not forgotten by anyone. The body integration realm cultivator used the pseudonym of Hermit of the Mountain and Forest, meaning one who enjoys solitude and often stay in the mountains and forests. However, fearing that his lengthy seclusion would cause others to forget him, he would occasionally emerge with an excuse, such as his grandson's first-month celebration. After the celebration, he would return to seclusion. As a result, the mountain and forest family would occasionally show their presence. They're all plants. Seeing a group of people introducing Lin Ruling with exaggerated tones, Zhang Li guessed it. He was too familiar with this trick. To prove his point, he joined the crowd, also using an extremely exaggerated tone. Is this the legendary Lin Ruling, the reincarnated true immortal, the ascendant to the mortal world, who was born with heavenly cannons in his mouth? It is said that he is proficient in qin, chess, calligraphy and painting, capable of creating a poem in 7 steps, familiar with the Qian and Kun chess game, able to recite classics backwards, and achieving mastery in painting. Any single one of these skills would be enough for him to become an immortal, let alone being proficient in all 4. He's a prodigy rarely seen in hundreds of years. His cultivation talent is unparalleled, his advancement is smooth as flowing water, killing without blinking an eye. Many people have said that he has the bearing of the human emperor, and surpassing the current human emperor is merely a matter of time. The plants turned their heads in surprise to look at Zhang Li, a newcomer they had not seen before, who had a good eloquence. Well said, you can get a couple more spirit stones after this. The head of the plants was quite satisfied with Zhang Li. However, Lin Ruling was breaking out in a cold sweat. This was clearly an attempt to kill him with praise. His family had pushed him out to promote their family name, and being a flamboyant cultivator, Lin Ruling obliged this request and came to the entrance of the Cloudwater secret area to make some publicity. But he didn't expect the people his family had hired to exaggerate so much, saying things like surpassing the human emperor was only a matter of time. If he really had such ability, he wouldn't stay in a secluded forest family that perpetually secluded themselves, he would have long left to study under the human emperor. Lin Ruling quickly lowered his head. This time, he really wanted to keep a low profile. There, see, I told you they were plants. Zhang Li returned with 2 spirit stones. Quickly, look, the Cloudwater secret area is about to open. Someone in the crowd pointed forward and yelled. Unlike other secret areas, the Sage of Painting could suspend heaven and earth in his paintings, and the Cloudwater secret area was a world within a painting. The scroll floating in the sky slowly unfolded, revealing a magnificent ink landscape painting that was so mesmerizing, it was unearthly. This was a testament to how far the Sage of Painting had journeyed on the path of painting, none in the 9 provinces could come close to his level. The group of geniuses stepped into the painting one after another, and Zhang Li, once a genius, followed. The scroll had been hung here since ancient times, and no one could affect it, representing the will of the immortal. If Zhang Li wanted to, he could even take away the ancient scroll hanging here, let alone enter the secret area. Li Er could also enter the secret area. Having endured a celestial calamity, his power couldn't quite compare to an immortal. Hilt he could still break through the rules of the painting. Is this the Cloudwater secret area? Everyone, except Zhang Li, was entering the Cloudwater secret area for the first time. Even Li Er had never been here before. The Cloudwater secret area had mountains, streams, cities, roads, houses, people, all sorts of things were made up of black and white colors. Even Zhang Li and Li Er, who were both crude in nature, could perceive a faint sense of elegance. The mountains were tall, the forest lush, and while the little brook trickled by, old buffalo plowed the fields. Children frolicked, young girls washed clothes in the river. Though it seemed unreal, it seemed even more aesthetically pleasing than reality. You're black and white now. Song Ying looked at Qin Luan, feeling like he was a refined gentleman who had walked out of a painting. Every move he made left a trail of ink that would gradually dissipate with time, which was quite charming. We're all black and white. Qin Luan rolled his eyes. Everyone had undergone the same transformation, so why was she only focusing on him? As a cultivator, she should be omniscient and omnipresent, or else she would be at a disadvantage in battle. Aguna didn't change much, Qin Luan added. Aguna was a native of the southern borders with unique brown skin. Now that her skin had turned from brown to black, the change was indeed minimal. She understood this rationale, but still felt a deep urge to hit Qin Luan. The things in the secret area are either painted or genuine. If someone could find out that something is genuine, then that thing would shed its disguise and reveal the truth. This was how boundary grass was disguised. And according to Zhang Li's observation, boundary grass was not here. It should be located in the small worlds associated with other levels, and one had to pass tests to get there. Chapter 236, Cows Eat Grass. The Cloudwater secret area consists of a series of small worlds, each requiring a trial to be passed before progressing to the next one. Welcome practitioners from JoJo to the Painting Immortal secret realm. I'm the spiritual sense of the Painting Immortal left here, Shiji. A charming voice echoed around, hinting that the owner of the voice was a beautiful woman. People looked everywhere, but they couldn't see Shiji's figure. Shiji said with a playful chuckle, no need to look for me. The art of painting has 3 stages, and the Cloudwater secret area also has 3 corresponding trials. I'm in the world of the second trial. So, if you want to see me, pass the first trial, please. Zhang Li thought about the system's mission requiring him to get a realm-breaking grass in the Cloudwater secret area. So, he found the system store, purchase realm-breaking grass. The realm-breaking grass appeared in Zhang Li's hand out of thin air. After all, the mission said he needed to get the realm-breaking grass in the secret area, not during a trial in the secret area. Congratulations, host, for completing the mission. It took a moment for the system to recognize that Zhang Li had completed the mission. Would you like to receive the reward? No, Zhang Li wasn't in a hurry to get the reward, knowing it wasn't going anywhere. Since he was here, he might as well greet the spiritual sense of the painting immortal, Shiji, before leaving. Maybe his painting skills have improved significantly over the centuries, and he could catch Shiji's eye, earning himself a painting immortal legacy. Zhang Li figured his painting skills must be better than Qin Luan's. Back when he was at the Golden Core stage, he hadn't fully mastered his body, so it's understandable that his depictions were barely distinguishable between an elephant and a Yuyin. But now, having reached the Mahayana realm, his body control had peaked. What he painted wasn't merely a circle, but a perfect circle conformed to the constant 3.1415926. The first stage of painting. A mountain is a mountain, water is water. Please paint a painting titled, "The Cow Grazes," using the cow in this world as the model. The painting style is unlimited. Shiji's usual calm tone seemed to falter at the end, with her gritting her teeth and adding, "But it's forbidden to make it overly abstract." Everyone was slightly baffled. However, anyone who came this far couldn't be bad at painting, right? The trial's format has changed. Zhang Li remembered his test in the Cloudwater secret area 500 years ago also revolved around the 3 stages of painting. The notions of a mountain is a mountain, water isn't water and such were quite profound. Back then, Shiji's test measured people's understanding of these 3 stages, intending that a deep comprehension of these 3 stages would secure the painting immortal's legacy. Shiji's test was profound, yet Zhang Li's answers were even more so. He went on to trick Shiji 3 times, narrowly passing the 3 trials and almost acquiring the painting immortal's legacy. To this day, this still quiets Shiji. Luckily, at the very last moment, she assessed Zhang Li's drawing abilities and decided against passing on the legacy to him. Otherwise, the painting immortal's reputation would have been in shambles. Now, having learned her lesson, Shiji no longer focuses on the abstract. She directly tests painting abilities, and this surely won't go wrong. The ink people in the city brought desks, stationery, charcoal pencils, and some desserts to everyone. Since there were no limitations on painting styles, brushes were not the only tools for painting. You have 4 hours. Start now. Zhang Li unrolled a piece of zan paper and fell into thought. Song Ying was the first to be inspired and started painting. Li Er thought for a moment and also started painting. After some contemplation, others also followed suit one after another. This topic was meticulously considered by Shiji. On the surface, a cow grazing seems simple, but it carries profound meaning. Upon stepping into the Cloudwater secret area, everyone saw an old ox tilling the fields. Yet, few noticed the old ox grazing on the sidelines once it had finished working. Feeling delighted due to the rest after hard work, the old ox would swing its tail slightly. A mountain is a mountain, water is water, is actually testing the observational skills of painter monks. Whoever could depict the scene of the old ox swinging its tail while grazing would pass the first trial. Painting originates from life and transcends life. Nonetheless, observing life is necessary before painting. This has always been the belief of the painting immortal, and Shiji, being the spiritual sense of the painting immortal, naturally follows this belief. Of course, the old ox was now resting on the side and no longer grazing. If one could still observe the old ox grazing now, what kind of test would that? I'm finished drawing. Qin Luan was the first to finish and raised his hand. Let me see, is the cow's tail swinging? Wait, where's the tail? Shiji's surprised voice echoed in Qin Luan's ears. Qin Luan had only drawn a cow's head eating grass. The neck and below were all missing, making the painting quite abstract. It was uncertain if it was a cow, but at least it was recognizable as some creature with horns. Does a cow need a tail to eat grass? Qin Luan was even more surprised than Shiji. Could it be that cows in this world didn't eat grass with their mouths but with their tails? Immediately, Qin Luan felt that this world was terrifying, and the painting immortal was a twisted immortal. You pass. Shiji felt it was her own fault for not making the rules clear and didn't blame Qin Luan. I'm finished drawing. Aguna was the second to raise her hand. She didn't know how to use a brush, so she used a charcoal pencil to draw. Is your cow swinging its tail? Shiji asked unsurely. This was Aguna's first time painting, so she drew and erased repeatedly, especially with the tail part, which was redone more than a dozen times. As a result, shading remained in the final version, making it look like the cow was shaking its tail when combined with the original tail. That will do. You pass. Considering Qin Luan's case, Shiji reluctantly deemed Aguna's submission acceptable. I'm done too. Li Er was the third one to raise his hand, quite confident in his own drawing. He believed he had a knack for drawing. Is this a cow? Shiji found Li Er's drawing quite speechless. In his painting, a woman with cow horns was sitting at a table and eating grass from a bowl. There was no tail at all. Ignoring the content, the image was very vivid, reflecting Li Er's meticulous observation of transformational beasts. Look at these horns, how are they not a cow's? Li Er pointed at the woman's cow horns, speaking righteously. If he declared his identity directly to Shiji would probably do him a favor by painting for him. However, Li Er was a man of pride, preferring to satisfy the other party before asking for Nengguadi and Xinshin favors. He believed he could pass at least 2 rounds. Why did you draw a transformative cow? Shiji couldn't understand Li Er's thought process. This time, it was Li Er's turn to be puzzled. Didn't you say to create a painting titled, "The Cow Grazes using the original form of the cow in your world"? Yes, I did say that. Shiji didn't find any problem with her instructions. Wasn't it just to create a painting depicting how a cow in this world grazes? Since it's the original form, the cow in this place can take on human form. So it's perfectly normal that I drew a human-like cow, right? I said original model, not original form. What's the difference? Alright, fine, you pass. Shiji, stuck in the world of the second trial, helplessly covered her face. I'm done too. Zhang Li was the fourth to raise his hand. Seeing Zhang Li's painting, Shiji felt an urge to curse. There was nothing on the paper. Where's the grass? The cow ate it. And the cow. Shiji felt she had encountered all sorts of weirdos during the first trial. Chapter 237. Lin ruling stirring trouble. Consider yourself passed. The words were forced out through gritted teeth by Shiji, allowing Zhang Li to pass the test. Why so reluctant? Zhang Li muttered. Apart from the content, he thought his painting was pretty good. I'm done painting. Song Ying's hand shot up. Excluding Zhang Li, she was the first to finish. However, she didn't want to steal Chen Luan's limelight, so she waited a while before announcing her completion. Song Ying's work met Shiji's standard. An old ox blissfully enjoyed itself under a big tree, lazily grazing, its thick tail swinging back and forth. Besides, Song Ying's painting skill was exceptional. The old ox she painted was lifelike. Song Ying often liked to paint in her free time, with most of her subject matter being her imaginary married life with Chen Luan. Having seen all sorts of strange and monstrous images, Shiji finally saw a normal work of art. She even had an impulse to embrace Song Ying and declare that she was the true disciple of the painting deity. Passed. Quote, the little white fox called out, signaling Shiji to come over. The little white fox was full of pride, shaking its tail that had a touch of black at the tip. It used its tail as a brush to paint. The painting is good, you pass. Although the little white fox hadn't observed how an old ox ate grass, it thought about how it wagged its tail with happiness when its power was restored. So, it put itself in the old ox's shoes and painted an ox with a swinging tail. You got it wrong, eliminated. You got it wrong, eliminated. You got it wrong, eliminated. One after another, people announced their completion, but all did not meet Shiji's standard and were ruthlessly eliminated. Lin Ruling, who spent a lot of money promoting himself, actually did have real talent and passed the first test. Those who were eliminated left the Cloudwater secret area, and Yuan Wuxing, waiting outside, had been waiting for a long time but his beloved disciple still hadn't come out. Strange, even with Qin Luan's painting skills, he could pass the first test. Yuan Wuxing felt he had been impulsive when he initially rejected Mr. Yang's kindness. Otherwise, he could have made it through the first round. The first test is over, prepare for the second one. As the voice died away, the ink painting blurred as if it had fallen into a lake, its lines spreading out into ink spots. When the ink spots became clear again and turned back into lines, everyone realized they were in another ink painting world, also only in black and white. This place is a resource-rich mountain with lush and abundant spiritual fruits, spiritual grass, spiritual beasts, like the life-giving peaches, soul-stabilizing nurturing soul fruit, and the six-spin aquatic grass that greatly benefits water attribute cultivation techniques. The second level of painting, seeing a mountain is not a mountain, seeing water is not water, the most important thing for a painter monk is to have the ability to pierce through illusions to find reality. Most of the treasures here are painted, but a small part is real, just camouflaged by the ink painting technique. Quote, the second test is to find a real treasure, but you only have one chance. Only the voice of Shiji was still echoing without any figure in sight. Barely Shiji had finished speaking, a cultivator practicing water attributes spotted the rarely seen six-spin water grass in the outside world and couldn't suppress his greed, pulling out a plant. If this were real, he could reduce his cultivation by 60 years, and leap to become a nascent soul cultivator. The black and white six-spin aquatic grass was still in black and white. Fake. Failed. Upon seeing their first failed competitor, the cultivators who reached the second level became frantic. The joy they had felt when they passed the first test disappeared immediately. The cultivators all exhibited their divine skills. Some opened their heavenly eye to discern truth from falsehood, some scattered water around, hoping to wash away the ink, while some pulled out the spiritual plant guidebook and stooped down to compare the shape of the spiritual plants. The last cultivator had just squatted down when he was sent flying by a wild boar that had appeared out of nowhere. I forgot to mention, the spiritual beasts here are all fake, but their strength is real, be careful. The cultivator who was sent flying had the most valid opinion. It was a wild boar that had attained the perfection of the golden core stage. They were just messing around. Who could tell that this golden core stage wild boar looked ordinary, and had no distinction from a regular wild boar? Fortunately, Shiji wasn't too excessive and controlled the strength of the spiritual beasts at the golden core stage. Otherwise, this wouldn't have been a test of perceptual ability, but a test of combat power. How about it, which one do you plan to pick? Zhang Li asked Li Er. The second test posed zero difficulty for the two of them. What they needed to consider was not what to find, but when to look for exceptional heavenly and earthly treasures. I think that old dragon transformation tree looks good. It'll increase the chance of transforming into a true dragon by 1 point. It can be used by my precious daughter. I remember that Li Nianer is only at the nascent soul stage. You only consider transforming into a true dragon when you advance to the body integration realm, aren't you thinking too far ahead? Zhang Li was speechless. Your body incorporating sect and West Sea Dragon Palace are so wealthy, don't you already have similar treasures? Do you really need to come here to compete for opportunities with the younger generation? Most importantly, you asked Shiji for help with painting, and now you're just going to pull out the most precious tree. Is this how you ask someone for a favor? So, according to your thinking, select the least valuable item. Just passing the test is enough. Understood. Zhang Li shook his head helplessly. Li Er's thinking wasn't much better than that of Zhang Konggu, with only a slight edge. Qin Luan and the two beautiful women along with a female fox attracted a lot of attention, especially from Lin Ruling, who loved to show off. If he could defeat him, he would definitely make a name for himself. Without any hesitation, Lin Ruling jumped out to challenge Qin Luan. Qin Luan, isn't it? I've found you displeasing to my eyes for a long time. How pitiful, running around aimlessly with weak eyes. I have medicine for it here, just 1 drop can cure you. Qin Luan sympathetically offered Lin Ruling a bottle of medicine. Displeasing doesn't mean there is something wrong with my eyes. Lin Ruling's veins bulged in anger as he forcefully built up his rationale. Beautiful women should only belong to the strong. Those who are incompetent do not deserve favor from two beautiful women. Qin Luan glanced at Song Ying, then at Aguna. They were indeed two beauties, but they didn't favor him. It seemed that Lin Ruling's words weren't targeting him, but he still conscientiously corrected Lin Ruling's view. How can you say that only the strong deserve beauties? Is it that beauties are only destined to be abducted by the strong? You're not talking about the strong, but robbers. And there is no evidence to prove that being favored by beautiful women necessarily correlates with being competent. Quote, Lin Ruling, I heard you are a cultivation genius who is destined to surpass the human emperor in the near future. How could you be so shallow in your understanding? I am very disappointed in you. Your words are not carefully considered and are likely to make enemies easily. It's a good thing that I am a calm person, willing to reason with you. I challenge you. Lin Ruling simply gave up on finding an excuse. Should have said so earlier. 5 Thunder Orthodox Techniques. Qin Luan lightly uttered a sentence. The sound of thunder echoed through the sky. Lin Ruling, who was lifted into the air, was struck by Qin Luan's move until his entire body darkened and started belching smoke. A supreme elder of the 5 Thunder Orthodox sect died in the chaos of the Emperor of Heaven Origin City, and the 5 Thunder Orthodox sect, which lost its main pillar, was eyed by other forces. In order to retain its vitality, it was forced to disband. One of the true disciples encountered Song Ying while escaping and harbored evil intentions towards her. Qin Luan killed him and obtained his 5 Thunder Orthodox techniques, which perfectly complemented his Thunder spiritual root. Lin Ruling was an aristocratic disciple with a solid foundation. He was just in time to recover his strength for another battle, but was trampled by a group of peak Golden Core stage wild boars that emerged from the woods, severely injuring him and forcing him to withdraw from the scene. Lin Ruling didn't think about the fact that Shiji was also a woman. Upon hearing such remarks, how could she not play a trick on him? Moreover, Qin Luan's speech changed Shiji's impression of him considerably. Although his painting skills were not great, he was a reliable person. Chapter 238. Give me a cup of forgetfulness potion, but then it expires. Zhang Li never intended to interfere from the beginning. With Qin Luan's knowledge and experience, how could he not know that Lin Ruling was deliberately picking a fight? He never obliged Lin Ruling, forcing him to specifically demand a challenge. However, Qin Luan wasn't sure about Shiji's intentions. If Shiji didn't allow fighting here, the verbal conflict between the two would inevitably provoke Shiji's displeasure. But if Lin Ruling openly challenged him, it would be a different matter. The other person was almost pointing at your nose to challenge you, you couldn't just stand still. Shiji had no reason to stop it. What Qin Luan wanted was justification. Qin Luan's combat power also surprised many people. Lin Ruling, who was known to be able to compete with the nascent soul stage, was killed instantly by someone else. Even if Lin Ruling was boasting, it was enough to show how powerful Qin Luan was. Let's go, now that the public nuisance is gone, we can search for treasures in peace. The trouble Lin Ruling caused was hardly a ripple for Qin Luan. Ever since he reached the later stage of the Golden Core, those who battled with him were all at the nascent soul stage. His sights were set beyond the Golden Core stage now. We can ask for Zhang Li's help, suggested Aguna. With Zhang Li's intervention, no treasure would be out of reach. Qin Luan shook his head. This is a test of individual abilities, Mr. Zhang won't involve himself in such matters. Qin Luan always held himself to the standard of a human emperor candidate. If he needed Zhang Li's intervention for such matters, what would qualify him for candidacy? You can't become a candidate for human emperor just by using backdoor channels. Aguna didn't understand Qin Luan's insistence, but she decided not to press the matter further. Little White, where are you going? Qin Luan noticed the little fox on his head hop on a dried-up tree stump, which had a milky white fruit on it. Is this a nurturing soul fruit? Are you sure it's real? Qin Luan was surprised. He knew that Little White had the ability to detect treasures, but he didn't expect that it could be used here in the secret realm created by the immortal. The little fox nodded enthusiastically and picked the fruit. Ridden with severe injuries and forced to use its reincarnation talent, the little fox lost its cultivation. The nurturing soul fruit could enhance its soul strength and speed up the recovery of its cultivation. Little fox, you've just passed. Do you choose to go to the next test now, or to stay here and go with the others? Shiji's voice sounded out. Of course, Little White Fox would choose to stay with Qin Luan. Then you must not help others, otherwise, both you and the person you aid will be eliminated, Shiji warned the little fox. The little white fox obediently nodded. Can you tell whether this evergreen bamboo is real? Aguna pointed to an ink bamboo. Evergreen bamboo is very suitable for weapon handles. It should be fake. Look under the evergreen bamboo, the gaps between each joint are too short. This is not how evergreen bamboo should grow. Qin Luan may not have been good at drawing, but his eye for detail was sharp. What about this one? Aguna was interested and kept asking about each thing she pointed at. Also fake. This one, 80% fake. What about this one? This one is real. Why? Because you're pointing at Mr. Zhang. Helpless, Qin Luan saw that Aguna was pointing without looking. Well, I am real. Zhang Li said jocosely, so, you can't find any real objects. Qin Luan was embarrassed and scratched his head. Actually, we found a few real things, but we're not sure. Qin Luan bent down. For example, this grass. It looks like a weed, but its leaf curve is narrower than ordinary weeds. There is also something that resembles a faint black line in the middle, similar to a breakthrough grass. But among the dozens here, not all of them could be breakthrough grass. I can't tell which ones are real. Song Ying, what do you think? Instead of saying which ones were real, Zhang Li asked Song Ying, who had been silent throughout. Me. Song Ying pointed at herself, knowing that Zhang Li was calling her, she felt honored. Zhang Li nodded, encouraging her. Qin Luan nodded, you heard right, Mr. Zhang is calling you. It's this one. Song Ying wasn't very confident. I feel that only this one of the dozen or so is real. Qin Luan looked closely at the one Song Ying pointed to, but found no difference from the others. What's your reason? Intuition. This was also the reason why Song Ying wasn't confident. Intuition is a very vague thing. Why not trust your intuition? You could be right. Song Ying hesitated, then shook her head. What if I'm wrong? Without waiting for a response, Qin Luan directly plucked the weed. Song Ying didn't even have time to stop him. Why are you like this? If I guessed wrong, don't you have to retire early? Song Ying stomped her foot in annoyance. Qin Luan chuckled. I trust your intuition. Qin Luan's trust in Song Ying wasn't baseless. On their journey, Song Ying's intuition had saved them from life-threatening situations or led them to opportunities several times. It's just that Song Ying herself wasn't aware of it, or rather, she didn't dare to believe her intuition could be that accurate. Subconsciously, she attributed all these incidents to coincidence. The weed shed its ink protein and turned into a green breakthrough grass. Look, it's real. You should try to trust yourself some more, your intuition is very accurate. Qin Luan looked into Song Ying's eyes, sincere. Well, let me try again. Song Ying felt butterflies in her stomach. Zhang Li frowned. Why was Song Ying's heart beating so fast? Could it be a latent disease? Zhang Li had discovered long ago that many people in the 9 provinces had similar conditions. Their pulses would speed up when they made eye contact with others. Even those in the body integration realm were unable to cure it. For instance, Pure Heart, the saintess, experienced similar symptoms when he looked into her eyes. Not being able to control your heartbeat despite being in the body integration realm was a frightening thing. For the sake of the 9 provinces, Zhang Li had even asked the Alchemy Peak to develop a pill that could cure this latent disease. But for some reason, the Alchemy Peak gave him a bottle of oblivion water instead. Quite strange. Zhang Li felt that Su Wei was a bit senile but didn't have the heart to tell him the harsh truth. He simply put the oblivion water in his storage ring without touching it anymore. 50 years later, the oblivion water had expired. It's this evergreen bamboo. I've always felt there's something wrong with it. Song Ying returned to the starting place. She had sensed that there was something wrong with the bamboo earlier. However, seeing how confidently Qin Luan was speaking, she didn't voice out her intuition. Only now, encouraged, did she dare to speak her mind. Of course there's a problem. It grows irregularly, it's fake, Qin Luan said as a matter of course. Not that problem, it's Aya, I can't explain it well. Song Ying was not eloquent and unable to describe it clearly, so she hurried to the bamboo. You should know what's happening outside. Could you please show your real form? A soft rain began to fall from the sky, bringing a haze. The scent of the wet soil arose, accompanied by a soft light. The evergreen bamboo transformed into a slender figure, dressed in ancient attire and holding an oil paper umbrella, appearing and disappearing in the rain like a young girl from the south of the Yangtze River emerging from the water town. I didn't expect anyone to find me, and it's not even due to luck. Shiji had said she was in the second test world, and indeed, she was right here. Chapter 239, Recognize the True Heart. The second test was not about whether the cultivator possessed an innate talent for treasure hunting, nor was it about the extent of the cultivator's knowledge. It was certainly not about the strength of one's divine sense being at the Transcendence Tribulation or the Mahayana realm. What Shiji desired was the natural intuition exemplified by Song Ying. Being inspired and instinctual, with the ability to comprehend the truth behind things, was needed to paint. Or else, it would be nothing more than mere imitation, void of innovation or transcendence. You're quite good, I am satisfied with you, Shiji observed Song Ying, her expression betraying a joy she could hardly conceal. If the impression generated from the first test was that she was a female cultivator with decent painting skills, the second test made her almost a semi-apprentice of a painting immortal. As long as her performance in the third test wasn't too bad, she would certainly receive the inheritance of the painting immortal. Shiji, it's been 500 years. Emperor Zhongli greeted Shiji. Shiji's beauty was truly comparable to a heavenly fairy, with a delicately beautiful face and a touch of indifference in her eyes that further increased her charm. It was no wonder that many cultivators pined for her after they saw her. I don't recognize you. I've never met you before. Who are you? Shiji pretended not to remember Zhongli. 500 years ago, Zhongli's painting was so hideous that it had taken Shiji 500 years to escape from the shadow it cast over her. It was hard to believe that someone could have such terrible painting skills. Among all the paintings Shiji had seen, Zhongli's was the worst. This is Emperor Zhongli. Qin Luan introduced Zhongli to Shiji. I didn't expect you to become the human emperor. I thought it would be you. Yin. Shiji was disappointed that Yu Yin hadn't become the human emperor. At the time when Zhongli and Yu Yin were at the Golden Core stage and not even candidates for the human emperor, Shiji had already recognized the potential of both to become the human emperor, and she favored Yu Yin even more. It was by chance. Zhongli was modest. I heard that after you reached your Mahayana period, the external heavenly demon that troubled 9 provinces is no longer significant. You have done well. Shiji asked about Zhongli's recent situation from the first 2 cultivators who enter a TNE secret realm Enkel Nu TNA Tna NACL Dean TNRLVLNG in TNE 9 provinces since leaving the Cloudwater secret area. Shiji, do you know anything about the external heavenly demon? I don't know. I am just a divine sense of a painting immortal and don't inherit all her memories. I am not as familiar with the affairs of the immortal realm as the everlasting immortal. You can ask him. The everlasting immortal himself is also quite knowledgeable in the immortal realm. Shiji asked again, what are you doing here? Seeing if I can inherit the painting immortal. Shiji rolled her eyes. If Zhongli managed to inherit the painting immortal, she'll drain all her ink. Shiji left, waiting for them in the world of the third test. Aguna was extremely lucky and, despite there not being any pointers, she accidentally picked the real fruit. Now let's start the third test. With Shiji's words, everyone was teleported to a new small world. The second test eliminated even more people. Now, only Zhongli, Li Er, Qin Luan, and the women behind Qin Luan remained in the secret realm. All of them were well-known acquaintances. Excuse me, I have a question. Zhongli politely interrupted Shiji. Speak, can you stop the rain? I like sunlight. The third world was filled with a drizzle that never stopped. Holding a red paper umbrella, Shiji stood before everyone, looking elegant in her isolation. Shiji liked holding a red paper umbrella, she found it beautiful. Therefore, she always used her privilege to call upon rain whenever she appeared. In Zhongli's words, it was fortunate that Shiji was the divine sense of an immortal, otherwise she would have gotten rheumatism. When Mr. Zhang said he would like the rain to stop because he liked sunlight, does that mean that the rain represents difficulties and sunlight represents hope? Despite the continuous challenges, as long as we hold on to hope and aspire for brightness, there will always be a day when we can conquer the waves, push through the clouds, and see the light of day. Qin Luan analyzed Zhongli's words, feeling that he had gained a lot. No wonder it's Mr. Zhang, every move he makes carries depth. Shiji gave Zhongli a cold look, stopping the drizzle and picking up the red paper umbrella. She continued, the third realm of painting, see the mountain is still a mountain, and the water is still water. The third test, I ask you to paint the happiest scene in your heart. It could be a past event, a future event, or merely an imagined scenario. There are no restrictions. Everyone was taken aback by the request, finding it rather challenging. Zhongli pondered, what would be the happiest scene? In other words, what is the scene he hopes most to see? He had never thought about this before. Li Er was also lost in thought. Was marrying Chang'er the happiest moment of his life? Or was it the moment his daughter was born? Or when his daughter got married? No, his daughter getting married was definitely not a happy moment. Qin Luan was thinking, what did he really want? Was it to gain Zhongli's approval, or to become the human emperor, or perhaps, to become an unparalleled cultivator, reaching the end of the path of immortality? The little fox raised its paw, painting itself returning to the body integration realm and becoming the lord of Qingqiu again. Little fox, are you sure this is your truest desire? Shiji looked at the little fox with a teasing smile, making it feel somewhat guilty and curl into a ball. But it still protested, indicating that this was its life goal. Shiji was not omniscient and omnipotent. She could not see the little fox's past and future, nor she could discern its truest thoughts. However, painting served as a reflection of one's soul, and Shiji could determine from the painting whether the scene depicted was what the person truly wished for. In the little fox's painting, Shiji saw hesitation and concealment, which meant that this was not the happiest moment the little fox had in mind. Perhaps you should think about it some more. Shiji left those words behind and drifted away. The little fox scratched its head with its little paw, appearing slightly irritated. Aguna's painting portrayed her and Qin Luan and his companions journeying across the map of the 9 provinces, signifying that leaving the GU race and having adventures in the 9 provinces with Qin Luan and his companions was the happiest thing for her. Shiji saw hesitation and concealment in her painting. Are you really satisfied with this? Shiji smiled and walked away. Song Ying painted herself marrying Qin Luan, with a group of beautiful women behind Qin Luan. So you want to marry Qin Luan? It's enough for you that he holds you in his heart, even if he has relations with other women. Shiji thought Song Ying was interesting, not just because of what she depicted as the happiest scene, but also because she saw contentment in Song Ying's painting. This was what she was most hoping for in her happiest moment. Song Ying was firm in her reply, it doesn't matter. My intuition tells me that Qin Luan will meet many more beautiful female cultivators in the future. This is inevitable, all I can do is to make sure that I always have a place in his heart. Shiji didn't say anything and turned to the next person. Qin Luan's painting depicted him, sitting high in the imperial palace, portraying an air of majesty. So, you want to take over Mr. Lu's position? When Shiji saw someone sitting in the imperial palace, this was her first reaction. I want to become the human emperor. Qin Luan corrected her. From this painting, Shiji sensed confusion and perplexity. Becoming the human emperor is not truly what you want. Think about it carefully. Quote. Shiji let out a sigh. To become a good painter, the most important thing is to recognize one's true intentions. The third test was designed to examine that. From the current situation, it seems that only Song Ying had recognized her true intentions and had passed the test. Chapter 240. Welcome Comrade Zhang Li to inspect the immortal realm. The painting Li drew was a simple yet realistic depiction of him with his wife and daughter. It's hard to imagine that this is the thoughts of a powerhouse at the Transcendence Tribulation stage, who commands the wind and the clouds. From this painting, Shiji saw authenticity. She flipped over Li Er's painting to see an even more authentic scene. An array of various beauties surrounded Li Er. These beauties were cat demons, dog demons, fox demons, rabbit demons, dragons, phoenixes, etc., maintaining some of their original features, such as their ears and tails. None of these beauties was of the human race. Shiji looked at Li Er as if she were looking at a scumbag. Let me defend myself. It's understandable. Liking female beasts might not be every man's desire, but it's certainly the desire of a considerable number of men. Your look of contempt is not very convincing, immortal maiden. Anyway, consider it as you have passed the test, you can receive the inheritance of the painting immortal. Li Er cautiously asked. I don't really need the inheritance of the painting immortal, can I exchange it for another reward? You say. Shiji wasn't surprised. She could tell that Li Er was a powerhouse at the Transcendence Tribulation stage, extraordinarily close to becoming an immortal. Such a strong figure would not come here for no reason, he must have a desire. Zhang Li was an exception. Shiji thought that Zhang Li was just idle and liked to run around for fun. I heard that when you reach a profound level in the cultivation of painting, you will have the ability to bring painting to life. Can you help me draw a 10,000-year crystal-colored glazed coral tree? Yes. Li Er was overjoyed and quickly simulated the shape of the coral tree with his divine sense. Shiji just took one look and didn't look again. She took out a brush from her arms, licked the tip with her delicate tongue to moisten it, and painted in midair, creating a lifelike coral tree. She opened her palm and gently blew on it. The painted tree turned into a real coral tree. This is not a permanent item, it can only last for 100 years. 100 years is enough, thank you, immortal maiden. Li Er felt that he could spend a peaceful wedding anniversary. So when exactly is the wedding anniversary? Shiji returned to Zhang Li's side again. Your painting is truly grandiose. Shiji saw that Zhang Li painted the immortal Ascension stairway built from top-grade spirit stones, decorated on both sides with immortal artifacts. Immortals held banners that read, Welcome Comrade Zhang Li to inspect the immortal realm. Aside from the fact that it bore absolutely no resemblance to the actual immortal Ascension stairway, there was nothing else wrong. Even heavenly immortals returning to the immortal realm don't have as much pomp as you. Why don't you ascend to heaven? Oh wait, you actually can. Shiji said with a tone of helpless mockery. After all, I am a bit stronger than a heavenly immortal. Zhang Li replied modestly. So be it, then I'll pass on the master's inheritance to you. Zhang Li shook his head to stop Shiji. Don't think I don't know, the painting immortal left you here to pass on the inheritance. Once you've passed on a certain number of times, you'll disperse. How many more can you pass on? 3 or 4, don't waste it on me. Everything I said earlier was just a joke, don't take it seriously. At least you still have a conscience. Shiji couldn't violate the rules the painting immortal had left. Anyone who passed the 3 tests would get the painting immortal's inheritance unless they explicitly refuse. The fox finally understood what she really wanted. On the white paper was a domineering silver-haired fox queen ruling over the world, with all the ministers submitting to her. The dignified and elegant Empress Qin Luan sat by her side, waiting for her favor. The fox not only wanted to return to the throne of the Lord of Oingeu, but also to have Qin Luan. What Aguna desired was to consummate the marriage with Qin Luan. Unfortunately, she was unable to portray the process, and only managed to depict the couple on the bed beneath a red veil. Aguna also desired Qin Luan. The fox and Aguna received Shiji's affirmation that this was indeed their true desire. However, since both of them had failed once before, they didn't pass the test. As for Qin Luan, he hadn't made a move, still not able to figure out what he really wanted. As for this, Shiji had no way of helping as she didn't possess the heart communication ability of the Buddhist realm. And even this skill probably wouldn't be able to uncover a person's deepest desires. Qin Luan would have to think about it slowly after leaving the secret realm. The 3 trials ended, and only Song Ying received the inheritance of the painting immortal. Shiji was also quite satisfied with this intelligent girl and gave her a brush. Song Ying used the brush to paint a butterfly fluttering its wings. The butterfly fluttered away a short distance before disappearing. Is this what painting cultivation is about? It's amazing. Shiji was secretly surprised. The fact that Song Ying could achieve this much just after receiving the inheritance indicated that her talent in painting cultivation was probably only below that of Yu Yin. When Yu Yin had initially received the inheritance, she painted Zhongli with a lot of acne on his face and then gave him a good beating. After leaving the secret realm, several sects inquired if anyone had obtained the inheritance of the painting immortal and offered to take them as the direct disciple of their body integration stage masters. Song Ying naturally wouldn't admit to it. Regardless of whether the other party was genuine or not, she had her own sect. Joining another would be considered as being disloyal and ungrateful towards her original sect. And more importantly, by joining another sect, she would no longer be able to stay by Qin Luan's side. After recognizing her true feelings, Song Ying was filled with a sense of crisis. Seeing as nobody admitted to having received the inheritance of the painting immortal, those sects didn't pay much attention since the last time someone obtained the inheritance was 500 years ago. Do you want to receive the reward? Receive. Quote. A control heart Gu appeared in front of Zhongli. The control heart Gu of the Gu tribe was obtained by the Taoist priestess Zan Ai and then killed by Zhongli with his heart sword. There were no more control heart Gus in the 9 provinces, indicating that the one given by the system came from another world. As a precaution, Zhongli kept the control heart Gu, thinking that it might come in handy someday. A cultivation technique depicting men and women in sexual intercourse appeared in Zhongli's hands. Zhang casually browsed through it and found that this, yin-yang harmony cultivation method, was nothing new. The positions and the theory of yin and yang combination were all clichés. A mainstream but an interesting dual cultivation technique. The one written by the couple Ma Zhou is much more interesting. Zhongli threw the dual cultivation technique into the storage ring to gather dust. Few people knew that in the adult books sold by the couple Ma Zhou, the cultivation techniques practiced by the protagonists were real, and they could be practiced according to the descriptions in the book. If someone found out about this, they would receive a dual cultivation technique carefully written by a body integration realm practitioner. The couple Ma Zhou insisted that this was a chance. Zhongli hoped that they would still stick to this argument when they were caught by the Great Zhou. The system's reward also included a bucket of medicated bath that aided in the awakening of the heavenly spiritual root. According to the system, as long as he took the breakthrough grass and then soaked in the medicated bath, he would be able to awaken the heavenly spiritual root in the late golden core stage. Zhongli, who was not proficient in pharmacology, took the bucket of medicated bath to Su Wei. After studying it for a while, Su Wei nodded lightly. Indeed, it can allow a person in the late golden core stage to awaken the heavenly spiritual root in advance. However, it's only limited to the late golden core stage. It won't work for those in the middle golden core stage. Moreover, the medicinal materials used here are extremely expensive, not something that ordinary clans and sects can afford. Zhang Human Emperor, if I may be blunt, I'm afraid that it will be difficult to promote this method of awakening the heavenly spiritual root in advance in the 9 provinces. Having dealt with Zhongli on many occasions, Su Wei guessed Zhongli's intentions after knowing the effect of the medicated bath. If they could find a few more heavenly spiritual roots, it would surely enhance the strength of the 9 provinces, and perhaps even create another Mahayana stage cultivator. What a pity, Zhongli could only regretfully give up.